The vibe at Qingtang Academy is absolutely electric as the legendary awakening ceremony kicks off. A nervous girl steps up to the glowing monolith, presses her palm against it, and pulls a measly C-tier talent. Her face instantly drops, completely shattered by the sheer bad luck. The crowd barely reacts, muttering in boredom, but our main guy, John Han, is sweating bullets, stressing over his own impending fate. Suddenly, the proctor calls up Xiao Mei Han's stunning girlfriend to face the trial. The second her fingers graze the cold surface, a blinding shockwave erupts, forcing every single jaw to drop straight to the floor. As the dust clears, a legendary S-tier spirit materializes beside her, the blood-stained silver spear. It is an ultra-rare immortal fairy phantom. The whole courtyard loses its collective mind. An S-class entity has not spawned at this school in actual ages. To top it off, this bad boy comes loaded with dual traits. And since some other guy already scored an S-tier spiritual bond earlier, the boys start drooling, realizing that teaming up with Mei would practically make them gods. But a random dude totally bursts their bubble, quick to remind the crowd that she is already locked down by John. Before the whispers can even settle, Mei struts straight toward Han and pulls the ultimate villain move. Ice cold and with zero hesitation, she dumps him on the spot, smirking that he is completely out of her league now. Shoving him backward, she spits out a harsh warning to lose her number, leaving our boy publicly humiliated. Han freezes, completely tongue-tied. Yet weirdly enough, panic is not crossing his mind at all. Why? Because he is no longer the pathetic simp who used to bend over backward just to keep her around. Truth is, Mei treated him like absolute garbage throughout their entire toxic relationship. Plot twist, Han actually isekai'd into this timeline, and ever since he respawned, his entire mindset leveled up. The peanut gallery of rival guys instantly swarms in, throwing nasty insults and threatening to jump him if he ever looks her way again. Fired up, Han claps right back, asking why they are acting so high and mighty when he could easily pull an S-tier entity himself. The crowd just explodes into cruel laughter, flaming his 0% odds. Even Mei jumps in to brutally roast his delusions. Right in the middle of their massive hate train, the intercom booms, calling John to the stage. Fueled by pure spite, he storms up the steps and slams his hand onto the relic. Dead silence. The monolith does not even flicker, and the haters immediately start howling with laughter. Mei sneers, calling him a total reject who could not even spark a basic trait, let alone dream of reaching S-class. The sycophants hype her up, praising her genius intuition for ditching such a massive flop. Out of nowhere, the rock pulses with a violent tremor erupting into a blinding godlike flash. The sheer pressure radiating from the stage nearly rips the flesh straight off their bones. Shielding their eyes, the crowd scrambles to guess what kind of monster he just unlocked. But every single guess falls short because John just triggered an impossible S spiritual contract. We are talking about a literal, divine awakening. Mei's knees buckle, her brain completely short-circuiting as she witnesses this miracle. Spawning a S master is a mythological event that drops maybe once every 100 years. And she never expected her discarded ex to snag the absolute rarest. The entire student body stands paralyzed in terror. No one saw this insane glow-up coming. In a split second, John claims the throne, ascending to the rank of a legendary history rewriter. Seriously, the last dude who rolled a S literally soloed an entire global war, crushing the apocalyptic insect horde and dragging humanity back from the brink of extinction. Word is mankind would have flat out won if that hero had not met a tragic early end. Before John can even catch his breath, a massive stampede of girls rushes the stage, desperately begging to be his contracted partner. One girl aggressively shoots her shot, flexing that her closet is packed with wild cosplay outfits, promising to serve him a brand new aesthetic every. Unfazed John flashes a frigid glare, telling the thirsty mob to back off while he weighs his options. He completely ignores their cries and walks off, well aware that these clout chasers will only drag down. Striding away, he casually summons his holographic interface to analyze his fresh broken stats. His powers are absolutely insane, packing God's Eye, hyper-perception, and a flawless sync with the universe. That God's Eye, it literally lets him read the hidden stats of every single spirit contract out there. Plus, he can awaken dead divine spirits, bringing them right back to their peak glory. His hyper-perception is a total cheat code, straight up multiplying his spirit stats by 2. And his universal sync, it shatters the rules, meaning he can hoard an infinite number of spirit contracts without blowing up. In a blink, his ex Mei comes crawling back, desperately begging for a second chance. She totally didn't see his god-tier awakening coming, so Han flips on his skill to check out her true colors. Thanks to his new vision, her secrets are laid completely bare right when Mei notices he's completely ignoring her. She tries to play him by leaning in for a kiss, but Han shuts that garbage down in a heartbeat. Brushing her off, he hits the crowd, scanning the area with his God's Eye to hunt for the ultimate partner. A massive swarm of girls crowds him, thirsting for his attention, while ruthlessly trashing the school's idol Xiao Yue for unlocking a garbage-tier E-rank spirit. The haters are fully convinced her life is over, betting nobody would ever team up with a total dropout. Tears stream down her cheeks as she breaks down, questioning why she's getting dragged through the mud just for an E-rank pull. Boiling with frustration, she squeezes her eyes shut and storms off only to slam right into someone. Han catches her waist before she hits the floor, muttering a quick, "My bad though." She brushes it off with a shaky nod. He casually glances at her stats and confirms the E-rank label, but something about her energy feels completely off the charts. Turns out her so-called trash E-rank is actually the Fuxi Qin, one of the top 10 legendary ancient weapons in existence. Han's jaw practically drops, instantly realizing that his own overpowered awakening abilities are the exact missing puzzle pieces needed to unlock her weapon's catching him staring blankly. Yue softly asks if she messed up again. Without missing a beat, Han drops a total nuke, declaring he wants her as his absolute main spirit. She completely freezes in shock, while the mean girls around them literally lose their minds. They start shrieking, demanding to know why a god-tier prodigy would carry a confirmed loser. Just as the crowd is about to riot, the headmaster Chen Guangpu barges onto the scene. He pulls Han aside, sighing that he gets the whole pretty girl attraction, but warns him that locking in a spirit partner is life or death, not some reckless game. Chen drills it into his head that he is the beacon of their continent, destined to crush the alien bug swarm, and it's entirely on him to snatch back humanity's stolen territories. Crushed by guilt, Yue backs the principal up, crying that her garbage stats will only drag him down. Suddenly, the heavy-hitting protector of Deep Blue City, Zhao Hu, who happens to be Mei's mafia-style godfather, marches right up, accusing Han of doing his girl dirty. Flexing his authority over Han's triple S rank, he growls a dark warning, "Step out of line, and I will ruin you," leaving him absolutely zero way to escape the brutal backlash. Mei smirks from the sidelines like a toxic villain, ordering Han to grovel and bind with her right now. But Han just shoots her a look of pure disgust, coldly snapping, "Like you even deserve me." That sparks Hu's rage, and he violently swings for a slap, only for Chen to intercept his wrist mid-air. Chen barks at him to back the hell off, reminding him that Han is an untouchable asset right now. Plus, the top brass already has their choking down his anger. Hu sneers that he'll let it slide, but only if Han actually goes through with tying his fate to Yue. In reality, the old man is practically praying for Han to say no, just so he has an excuse to execute him on the spot. Unfazed, Han casually announces he's locking it in with Yue, and literally nobody on Earth can change his mind. He firmly grips her hands, pulling her close, and whispers for her to follow his lead into the ritual. Still trembling, she mumbles an apology for being a burden, but he cuts her off with a smirk. "Relax, you're a hidden masterpiece." Without hesitating, Han supercharges his core skill the second they initiate the bond. And instantly, a blinding, apocalyptic wave, the ritual totally pays off. Han instantly unlocks a legendary musical artifact, an ancient god-tier weapon forged in the exact shape of a lethal blade. The Fuxi Qin. Han's jaw literally hits the floor. He is absolutely mesmerized, especially since this soul bond unlocks a dual-threat arsenal of savage attacks and clutch support melodies. Post-awakening, this epic loadout basically turns into a flawless cheat code, with absolutely zero blind spots. Yue is completely shook. She just skyrocketed from a bottom-tier E rank straight into the overpowered triple S tier. Overcome with emotion, she crashes into Han's embrace, endlessly thanking him for entirely flipping her destiny. Meanwhile, a bitter Mei is throwing a massive tantrum to Hu, desperately demanding major payback, crying about how brutally Han just dragged her reputation through the mud. Hu just smirks with pure arrogance, telling her to chill out. He points out that Han willingly chained himself to a pathetic E-rank spirit, which basically means the guy's future potential is officially dead in the water. He confidently swears to make Han's daily existence in this city an absolute living nightmare. Then he drops the ultimate flex. He has already rigged the entire spirit contract assessment scheduled for the very next day. Bragging about his insane influence, he claims he pulls every single string around here, basically acting like a literal god. Mei gushes with gratitude, but this sneaky creep leans in heavily, hinting that huge favors like this definitely do not come for free. Catching his dirty drift, Mei proposes they hit up their usual private spot for some instant special repayment. Hu eagerly bites without hesitation. Smirking at the offer, he admits he is absolutely hyped for their upcoming steamy session together. Fast forward a few hours, and the local internet is completely blowing up with incredibly toxic smear campaigns targeting Han. The viral fake news claims he threw his entire career away to bond with a trash-tier spirit, simply because he was incredibly down bad. Every single hate post is heavily orchestrated by Hu's massive network of trolls, perfectly designed to mentally destroy Han. Seeing the chaotic drama unfold on her screen, Mei gets incredibly hyped, instantly dialing up her bedroom performance to 11 as a massive bonus reward. This extra effort drives Hu absolutely wild. He quickly promises his girl that Han's current internet nightmare is merely the appetizer, because once the physical trials kick off, he fully intends to unleash a whole new dimension of brutal, unfiltered cruelty. The very next morning at the academy cafeteria, it is basically a massive staring contest. Every single eyeball is glued to Han and Yue, the most infamous duo in town. The background chatter is insanely toxic. Crowds are loudly gossiping about how he completely fumbled the bag by picking. Mei catches every single toxic whisper echoing across the room, and feeling extremely guilty, she deeply apologizes for the intense backlash Han is suffering. However, he quickly shuts down her apologies. Gently patting her head, he reminds her that she is literally the most stunning student on campus, urging her to fix her invisible crown and stay confident. He pushes a massive plate toward her, telling her to fuel up so she absolutely dominates the grueling spiritual contract master's exams without gassing out. Yue nods with pure determination. Han actively hypes her up to block out the pathetic haters so they can completely shock the world with her true hidden power. Fast forward a bit, the two are peaceful when some incredibly arrogant punk named Wang Lumao rudely crashes their table, completely killing the mood. Han shoots him the ultimate side-eye, looking at the guy like total trash, before bluntly asking, "Who even are you?" The annoying guy puffs out his chest, proudly flexing that he is Mei's brand new spirit. Han literally chokes and violently spits out his food in pure, unadulterated disgust, while Yue starts wheezing, practically dying from laughing so hard. Lu Mao is instantly triggered, screaming like a rabid troll, demanding to know what is so funny. Han casually shrugs, coolly claiming a random joke just popped into his head. Right on cue, Mei sharply struts over and snatches Lu Mao's arm, warning her new toy not to stoop down to Han's pathetic level, because he is absolutely nothing but a complete loser who, with the intense trials kicking off any second, she forcefully drags him away, but not before Lu Mao points a menacing finger at Han, dropping a petty threat, warning him to eagerly watch his back for the absolute beating he is about to deliver. Soon enough, the massive crowd funnels into the grand combat arena. The energetic stadium announcer boldly grabs the mic, intensely hyping up the nervous crowd for the brutal exam ahead. He firmly lays down the rules, explaining that this combat gauntlet is heavily broken down into scaling nightmarish difficulty tiers. And honestly, just surviving a single grueling round is already considered a massive certified win. To officially kick off the bloodshed, the overly confident duo Mei and Lu Mao get eagerly called up to the center battleground. They proudly strut onto the field with major ego. Suddenly, the heavy iron gates violently grind open, unleashing a terrifying, pitch-black mutant moth, which is casually sitting at a solid level 7 threat. The exact second the bell rings, Mei magically shapeshifts into a lethal combat spear, and Lu Mao firmly grips the deadly weapon, charging straight at the insectoid nightmare. Instantly launching himself skyward, he viciously zeroes in on the hovering target, quickly unleashing a devastating mid-air cleave that brutally slams the giant beast straight into the dirt. However, fueled by pure adrenaline, he immediately dives back down. With bone-crushing force, it rips right through the beast's body. The entire crowd is left shook, their jaws hitting the floor. Seeing an S-tier spirit contract master flex this kind of raw, insane power in real life is straight-up mind-blowing. While the audience loses their minds, the district big shots are chilling in the shadows, hyper-analyzing this whole exam on their hidden monitors. But Wei Qing, the hardcore boss of District 1, isn't buying the hype. To him, Luma's performance was kind of mid, noticing she broke a serious sweat and struggled way too hard against that creep. District 2's chief Lin Jingshuan totally backs him up. He straight up calls it out, claiming Mei should have easily one-tapped that beast into oblivion. The fact that she actually had to put up a fight proves she is lagging behind. Lin calculates her power level is sitting a whole 20% lower than your average S-tier spirit. Lin throws massive shade, guessing Mei has been totally slacking off in her daily grind. That zero-discipline lifestyle basically caused her spiritual energy to leak out like a broken faucet. Hu is lurking in the same room, secretly sweating bullets. He knows damn well they just hit the nail on the head, but he stays dead silent. Honestly, his hyper-guilty cutting back to the main stage, the announcer hypes up the crowd, officially crowning Mei and Luma as the winners of the trial. And get this powerhouse duo just shattered the Academy's all-time record by completely crushing a level 6 difficulty zone. The peanut gallery goes absolutely feral over the news, but they do not even take a breather, before immediately tossing brutal shade at Han and Yue. They are practically begging. Right on cue, the proctor grabs the mic and calls Han and Yue up to the chopping block. The heavy steel doors slide open, unleashing a massive swarm of 10 level 1 shadow moths. Hearing that insane head count leaves Han completely caught off guard. Yue's eyes widen in pure disbelief. Sure, these creepy crawlies are only level 1, but throwing 10 of them at once. That basically scales this nightmare up to a solid level 10 deathmatch. Even the toxic haters in the stands are completely stunned to see Han catching such an insanely brutal trial right out the gate. But honestly, they couldn't care less. They are just itching to watch him get absolutely destroyed for daring to pact with a trash-tier E rank. The proctor hits Han with some twisted logic, claiming that since he holds a legendary triple S rank, he has to survive a trial 10 times harder than the rest of the rookies. But here is the dirty truth. Who totally pulled strings behind the scenes? He bribed the examiner to rig the system and make Han's life an absolute living hell. All just to guarantee our boy crashes and burns during this evaluation. The proctor secretly feels super guilty about playing dirty, but his hands are completely tied. In his head, he is just blaming Han for stepping on the absolute wrong dude's toes. Backed into a corner, Han cracks his knuckles. He has literally zero options left but to square up against the screeching nightmares blocking his path. But despite being insanely outnumbered, Han does not even flinch. Without breaking a single sweat, he commands Yue to initiate her transformation. Time to clear the room. The split second she morphs into her lethal musical weapon, Han unleashes a devastating sonic blast, one-tapping the entire swarm like they are literal paperweights. The entire stadium goes dead silent. It is straight up glitching their brains that a guy locked with a bottom-barrel E-rank spirit just swatted away a deadly mob like it was absolutely nothing. The snobs who thought they outclassed Yue are currently having a massive existential crisis. The rigged examiner is totally paralyzed, his jaw hanging wide open as he wonders what kind of absolute freak of nature Han actually is. Up in the VIP box, Wei's brain is short-circuiting. Back in his prime rookie days, wiping out that many creepers took him a solid 30 seconds. Meanwhile, Han just deleted them from reality in exactly 1 second. Lin nods along, finally admitting Han is built different. But a dark shadow crosses his face when he points out a glaring issue. This exam's difficulty spike is way beyond the Academy's standard. Who instantly jumps into the conversation, nervously lying through his teeth that the Guardians of Deep Blue City cranked up the settings on a whim. He claims the higher-ups just wanted to push Han's absolute limits and see what the kid is truly made of. But internally, Hu is raging hard. Seeing Han casually stroll through that death trap makes his blood boil, cursing the kid for being as hard to kill as a pesky cockroach. Wei could not care less about the rigged system, though. He brushes it off loudly, reminding everyone that back in their golden era the trials were just as savage. Then the ancient head honcho in the room drops the hammer. He commands the test to keep rolling, genuinely hungry to witness exactly where Han's breaking point lies. Phase 2 initiates with a loud buzzer. Instantly, a fresh wave of 20 massive shadow ants pours into the kill zone. But Han remains completely unbothered. He channels Yue's explosive musical waves and straight up vaporizes the entire horde without even trying. Standing tall in the wreckage, Han flashes a cocky grin, loudly declaring that these trash mobs are a total joke and demanding they crank up the heat. The peanut gallery absolutely loses their minds. They scream over the barricades, watching Han absolutely dominate. Wei's eyes light up with greed. He violently slams his fist down, calling dibs and swearing Han is destined for his elite squad. But Yeshu, the boss of District 3, immediately steps up to clash with him. He fires back, insisting his turf is the ultimate playground for a raw talent like Han to actually level up. He completely roasts District 1, straight up calling Wei's territory a hyper-toxic suicide squad where rookies just go to die. Wei's aura turns pitch black. He snaps his head toward Yi, growling, and asking if the dude seriously has a death wish trying to poach his newest star. Ye just smirks like an absolute savage. He claps back, reminding Wei that his scary sister-in-law isn't around to save him right now, so he isn't intimidated by his empty threats. Right in the middle of their heated shouting match, the head of District 4, Shen Jiaqi, crashes the party, smoothly pitching that Han belongs with his crew since their entire vibe is hardcore relic hunting. The other two immediately whip their heads around and bark at the guy to back the heck off. Finally, their ancient teacher has had enough roaring at these annoying brats to shut their traps. The old man then pivots to Lin, asking for his take on the whole trial. Lin smirks, suggesting they crank the difficulty all the way up, arguing that the current setup is practically a walk in the park for our boy Han. The teacher gives it a green light. Catching this, Lu flashes a wicked grin, totally convinced Han is about to get wrecked. Cue the examiner grabbing the mic to drop a bombshell. The higher-ups just ordered the test to be pushed to its absolute maximum limit. Han is now staring down 10 Tier 2 giant armored lizards, plus 10 Tier 2 Thunderbirds. The whole student crowd literally gasps in horror, dead certain this insane gauntlet is going to flatten him. But Han, he doesn't even break a sweat. He just shrugs and announces to the room that this quote-unquote challenge is still way too basic. Lu Mao and Mei instantly start roasting him for being a cocky tryhard happily waiting for his inevitable beatdown. Unbothered, Han readies his weapon and summons a squad of heavy-duty armored knights to clash with the horde. The knights explode into a sprint, ruthlessly hacking through the massive lizards. But up above, those thunderbirds start raining down brutal long. The heavy crossfire pins the knights down completely. Seeing his front line paralyzed, Han flips the script. Blasting a high-octane breakthrough anthem, he launches himself into the sky and shatters the birds' defenses with a single devastating strike. Jaws physically drop across the arena, a Tier 1 contract Spirit Master absolutely obliterating a swarm of Tier 2 beasts, making it look like absolute child's play. That is literally before their brains can even process the flex. Han drops another lethal combo, wiping the remaining monsters off the map. The crowd is left totally speechless. Nobody in a million years expected to see a rookie who is straight up more terrifying than the monsters. Whispers erupt questioning just how insanely OP this guy actually is, because he just casually breezed through level 3. The district bosses literally jump out of their chairs, completely shook by the generational talent standing right in front of them. Lin mutters that Han's musical mastery is off the charts and his buffing speed is at least 10 times faster than normal, a stat that honestly shouldn't even exist. The old teacher refuses to swallow the lie that Yue is just a trash E-rank spirit, so he signals his assistant, Ah Fu. Since Ah Fu has this crazy broken eye for scanning contracted spirits, the boss orders him to run a background check on Yue. Ah Fu coolly replies that he is already one step ahead. He reveals Yue's glitchy status mirrors another legendary girl, the one and only Ling Jian. The old master practically chokes on his breath. This means the assessment stone totally misread her as a weak E-rank, but her hidden potential is honestly broken. Bottom line, she evolved into an absolute powerhouse purely because she locked in a contract with Han. Ah Fu nods, cementing that wild theory as cold hard fact. Mind completely blown, the old master frantically tells Ah Fu that getting Ling Jian and Han in the same room is a top priority. Connecting the dots, he tests Ah Fu, asking if he remembers what Ling Jian's supposed E-rank talent actually was. Ah Fu doesn't miss a beat. The Shenlong Cauldron. Cutting back to the bloodbath, Han casually asks the examiner to keep the trial rolling. The proctor just stares, asking if he actually understands the words coming out of his mouth. Han swears he isn't tripping. Figuring this kid is just high on adrenaline, the examiner reluctantly hits accept. Bam, upgraded to level 4. Hunting for his absolute limit, Han vaporizes the new monster wave in literally seconds. He immediately triggers level 5, then 6, tearing his way straight up to round 9 like a total raid boss. Sweating bullets, the totally floored examiner begs Han to finally tap out. But Han isn't having it. He points at the scoreboard and demands level 10, causing the examiner to straight up lose his mind and start yelling, "Are you out of your mind?" The crowd is absolutely losing it. Because since this brutal trial kicked off 0, and I mean 0 challengers have ever survived the stage 10 nightmare, the students are dead set on one thing: our boy Han is way too green. Bro literally just unlocked his powers, so facing a tier 10 threat seems like straight up suicide. Stage 10 isn't just the finale. It's the ultimate boss fight, dropping him into the cage with an authentic, bloodthirsty rank 3 monster. If he seriously pushes forward with this crazy stunt, he's practically begging for. Back in their prime, even heavyweights like Wei and his elite squad maxed out at stage 9. And get this, even that run shattered a 100-year-old record. Lin is already drooling over the thought of poaching Han for his own turf. But Wei He's cracking his knuckles, ready to throw hands with anyone who dares snatch his golden boy. Lin has finally caught on to Han's insane potential, and he is fully prepped to wage an all-out war against Wei just to secure that contract. Down in the pit, the proctor stares Han down. He drops the facts. "If you really think you can tank stage 10, I won't stand in your way." But he hits him with a brutal reality check. There is 0% chance he walks out of this alive looking that battered. Unfazed, our guy casually plops onto the ground. He looks straight up and demands a quick breather to recharge his batteries before round 2. The examiner immediately claps back with the rulebook. "You get 5 minutes, kid. Not a second more." "I only need 1 track." Han interrupts with a smirk. He busts out his instrument, and the second the melody hits the air, an insane healing aura erupts. Pure blinding restoration magic floods the arena. Jaws hit the floor. The crowd is absolutely shook as they watch his drained stamina refill like a hacked video game. The math starts mathing for everyone. His bound phantom isn't just a basic damage dealer. It's a straight-up broken all-rounder. Reality slaps them in the face. The entity he locked in a pact with is on a whole other terrifying level. Up in the VIP box, things are escalating. Lin and Wei are literally seconds away from tearing the roof off to settle who gets draft rights to this prodigy. Right as they're about to brawl, a new player enters the chat. Lu Jingchun, the big boss of Sector 5, steps up and claims he wants a piece of the action. He spits facts: if Han joins his medic squad, the frontline casualty rate for phantom wielders will plummet by a massive 30%. Hell no, Lin and Wei bark back in perfect sync, immediately shutting down his pipe dream. The chaos hits critical mass, forcing their Grandmaster to step in and put a leash on these barking dogs. He breaks it down for them, reminding the room that the 8 prime sectors operate with very specific unique duties. Here's the rundown. Sector 1 dominates open war. Sector 2 big brains the tactics, while Sector 3 pushes the frontier. Sector 4 hunts down hidden truths. Sector 5 keeps people breathing, and Sector 6 holds down the absolute choke points. Sector 7 rules the roaring oceans, and Sector 8, they pull the strings from the shadows. The wise elder makes it crystal clear these 8 divisions are the literal backbone, keeping the entire Daxia Empire from crumbling. But then he drops a bombshell. He confesses he's been low-key dreaming of forging a Sector 9 but never pulled the trigger. Boom. The second those words leave his mouth, his elite students realize the Grandmaster is dead serious about launching this brand new division, and he wants Han sitting on the throne. The only catch they need to know if this kid actually has the juice to lead. Back in the pit, the Stage 10 finale kicks off. Han is staring down the barrel of a Tier 3 Zerg red flame abomination. The Proctor echoes the ultimate win condition through the speakers. Clear Stage 10 and you pass the trial. The catch: he just needs to dodge the monster's onslaught and stay breathing for exactly 3 minutes. Flexing its insane power, the Zerg erupts, a nuclear heatwave blasts outward, literally scorching the air and nearly deep-frying the audience in the stands. Smoke clears, ashes fall, and the crowd gasps. Han is still rooted to the exact same spot, looking completely unbothered. Everyone fully expected him to be sprinting for his life, considering this mutant insect is a literal walking natural disaster. Ice-cold Han shifts his gaze to Yue. "You ready to wreck this thing?" he asks. Without missing a beat, she promises to back his play 100% no matter how wild. "Surviving isn't the vibe," Han declares. Exploding with a suffocating god-tier aura, he blitzes straight toward the fiery titan. Bam! A massive face-melting fireball slams into his path, forcefully halting his deadly sprint. Flipping backward with crazy agility, Han narrowly dodges being turned into literal barbecue by the deranged monster. Deep breath in, deep breath out. He regains his zen and shreds a new chord, summoning a devastating tempest. A catastrophic hurricane instantly erupts. The whole Colosseum violently quakes, ripping through the stands so hard that fans are barely holding onto their clothes. Channeling this apocalyptic storm, Han launches the cyclone directly at the monster. The razor-sharp gales brutally shred the beast into pieces. Dead silence washes over the arena. The audience is absolutely paralyzed as the terrifying Zerg their brains are glitching out. They can't process that this rookie just crushed the impossible trial, cementing a god-tier record that will probably remain untouched until the end of time. Luma and Mei are practically choking on their own fury, completely blindsided by this insane plot twist. Mei is absolutely fuming that Han casually swiped their main character moment right out of the battleground. Sure, our boy completely crushed the exam, but pushing past his limits instantly knocks him out cold. When his vision finally clears, he wakes up trapped inside a strange void. And standing dead center in his line of sight, it is none other than Lin. Before the panic can even set in, the mysterious guy drops a chill introduction. He makes it super clear he just stopped by to run a quick, casual interrogation. Han immediately fires back, asking what kind of quiz this is. So Lin drops a heavy one in the brutal war between mankind and the alien bugs, who actually takes the ultimate win. Han keeps it incredibly real, stating the monsters might pull off a victory, but humanity is definitely not going down without a vicious fight. Lin is seriously vibing with that hardcore mindset. He then asks the million-dollar question as a contract master: what is his actual drive for jumping into this meat grinder? Han declares straight up that he is throwing punches simply to stop those freaks from turning their home turf into an absolute wasteland. So everyday folks can actually kick back and thrive without constantly looking over them. He goes incredibly hard, vowing to plant the Daxia banner across every single inch of their territory, fully bringing back that legendary golden era. Hearing that epic speech, a veteran grandmaster randomly steps out of the shadows, slow clapping for the kid's absolute raw dedication. With zero hesitation, the old man instantly offers to take our guy under his wing while Lin steps up and reveals his master's identity, the absolute legend, Li Shutong. Han's jaw practically hits the floor. Everyone knows the Li bloodline. They are literally the most overpowered, heavily stacked family in the entire nation. Lore drop: exactly 100 years back, 3 top-tier Zerg monarchs teamed up for a massive raid, planning to completely delete Daxia off the map. They were inches away from total annihilation, but right at the tipping point, Shutong stepped onto the battlefield and soloed all 3 Bug Kings like absolute fodder. He brutally slaughtered the massive threats, single-handedly carrying the whole country. Just flashing back to those insane historical feats gets Han extremely hyped to train under this absolute beast of an elder. He eagerly asks if the offer to become his personal student is actually legit. Shutong gives him a solid yes, provided he has the guts to handle it, prompting Han to immediately drop into a deep, respectful bow. He formally pays his heavy respect, officially claiming the old man as his brand new. The Grandmaster absolutely loves the sheer respect. Giving the rookie a hearty pat on the shoulder, he admits Han is way more his style than his other students, but apologizes for not packing a crazy welcome package. Because this entire impromptu meetup was totally unscripted. But then he casually hands over a ring forged straight out of the skeletal remains of a Tier 9 Zerg monarch he absolutely wrecked back in his prime. When the Elder casually drops that it has a built-in dimensional inventory, Han's mind is completely and utterly blown into pieces. Just locking eyes with the artifact, our boy can physically feel the insane, suffocating energy radiating off of the metal. It seriously makes him question how incredibly overpowered that Tier 9 boss must have been while breathing, considering just a tiny chunk of its bone emits such god-tier pressure. The Master warns that rocking this bad boy will completely terrify low-tier monsters, but when facing high-level elites, it acts like a massive aggro magnet, making them insanely. The Elder totally gives him an out, suggesting he can just keep it stashed away in his pocket if the heat gets way too intense. But Han is absolutely not backing down, swearing he will flex the ring 24/7 as a permanent badge of honor from his mentor. Hearing that fearless energy, the old legend bursts into a hearty laugh, telling the crew that this kid's fierce, unwavering vibe is totally fire. He fully uses the golden moment to absolutely roast his other students, calling them out for being total wimps, explaining that those massive cowards completely freaked out and rejected the accessory when he tried gifting it to them previously. Wrapping up the heavy lore drop, the Elder points out that after surviving that brutal trial, Han and Yue must be totally running on fumes right now, because speedrunning that insane entrance exam definitely drained their entire. Since the Grandmaster is feeling incredibly generous today, he offers to treat the whole squad to a massive all-out feast. A quick jump cut later, the hungry gang pulls up to a local foodie spot named Deep Blue Hot Pot. As they slide into their booth, the Elder casually mentions that Han's new upperclassmen are about to crash the party since he dropped an open invite in the group chat. Within minutes, the squad starts rolling into the restaurant, going around the table, dropping their intros to the rookie, right from Lin all the way down to Lu. Being the respectful guy he is, Han immediately jumps up from his seat to properly greet his brand new veteran peers. But they instantly wave him off, telling him to chill out with the stiff manners, because they are all just one big, chaotic found family now. Yi then chimes in, dropping the detail that they are missing a single member. The sixth brother is currently heavily locked down, defending the absolute edge of the frontier. Brother number 7 is currently deployed overseas, meaning a meetup isn't happening anytime soon. Right as they bring up brother number 8. Speak of the devil. The guy literally materializes in the room. But plot twist. The dude just slides Han his business card, casually offering a lifeline if things ever go south. The massive catch, he only gets to use it exactly once. Han is totally speechless, muttering about how completely offbeat and eccentric number 8's vibe really is. Lin then busts out a massive stash of epic loot from the rest of the crew. We're talking high-tier combat manuals, armored battle gear, and some seriously overpowered survival tools. The wholesome vibes are soaring until a foul-tempered, obnoxious woman barges into the room, totally crashing the party. Surprise, surprise, this absolute Karen is actually Yue's aunt, and she instantly starts screeching at her niece. She goes off accusing Yue of ditching her to live the high life, completely forgetting who fed her before her big awakening. Yue frantically tries to explain, begging the woman to chill out. But this crazy aunt raises her hand, fully winding up to smack Yue across the face just for talking back. Bamhan catches her wrist midair. The old hag immediately locks eyes with him, realizing this is the exact guy who locked in a soul bond with her niece. She starts trash-talking Han right to his face, accusing him of scamming Yue into the deal. Han just glares at her, his voice absolute ice as he demands to know what she wants. Cue the yap session. She launches into a massive guilt trip about how she supposedly broke her back raising Yue all these years. Bottom line, she demands a massive payout for her so-called troubles. Yue finally snaps, screaming at the greedy woman to cut the toxic nonsense. But the aunt just smirks, warning Yue not to get a big head just because she aced some basic evaluation test. Then she drops a massive flex. She brags that Yue's uncle is a major heavyweight over in District 4. One more disrespectful word, and she promises to make a call that will permanently blacklist Yue from the elite spirit binders circle. Hearing this mess, Shen tries to play peacemaker. She violently shuts him down. Pivoting straight to Shutong, she mocks the Grandmaster, straight up calling him Han's crusty old grandpa. She hits the old man with an insane ultimatum. If they want to keep Yue, they better cough up solid gold, a massive dowry, a luxury crib, and a premium ride. Oh, and every single deed needs to be locked tight under her name. She arrogantly flaunts her untouchable mafia-level connections across combat zones 3, 4, and 5. Pay up or face utter destruction. Boom, Shutong slams his fist into the table, furiously chewing out his own students. He asks why the heck they are just standing there letting this loudmouth disrespect their master. He barks an order to mobilize their districts, and the boys instantly whip out their phones. Time to call in the big guns. The delusional Karen thinks they are just dialing local mall cops, laughing off their threats because of her so-called elite network. Right on cue, her own phone buzzes. She answers it with a smug grin, only to realize it's her almighty uncle on the line. Before she can utter a single syllable, the guy absolutely explodes through the speaker, screaming in pure terror, asking if she has a death wish for their entire bloodline. The guy completely disowns her on the spot, telling her to lose his number forever because they are officially done. While the terrified uncle is still ripping her a new one over the phone, Shutong ruthlessly roasts her pathetic attempt at name-dropping. Right before hanging up, her uncle delivers one final desperate warning. Back away from Han and Yue immediately, or consider her miserable life officially over. The color drains from her face as her phone slips and shatters on the floor. Her brain completely short-circuits. Making matters worse, the restaurant staff finally marches over, telling her to take. Playing the ultimate victim card, she points fingers at Shutong's crew, crying that they are the ones ganging up on an innocent woman. Since she refuses to take the hint, security physically drags her kicking and screaming right out. Completely mortified, Yue drops into a deep bow. She tearfully begs Shutong for forgiveness, fully blaming herself for the whole embarrassing mess. But Shutong is all warmth and kindness. He gently tells her to drop the guilt. This tragedy only happened because she tragically lost her parents. The master then makes a massive declaration. From this day forward, she and Han are officially his true blood. They hold the exact same elite family rank as their senior brothers. He makes it crystal clear she never has to step foot in her toxic aunt's nightmare house ever again. His mansion is now her safe haven. Tears of pure relief stream down her face as she thanks the wise master. Shutong just smiles, ordering the rookies to smash all the epic food on the table. As the old man geeks out over the culinary techniques behind the feast, Han smoothly pivots, asking the master to predict his ultimate destiny. Shutong keeps it beautifully vague, explaining that every warrior walks a totally unique path, and Han's future is totally unwritten. Chowing down Han suddenly gets curious and asks why none of the senior brothers brought their wives to the gathering. Lin immediately flips the script, flashing a teasing smirk as he straight up asks Han if things between him and Yue have gotten spicy yet, but Han quickly clarifying that they absolutely haven't taken things to that level yet. Lin breaks it down once a master and their spirit get physical. The master actually unlocks a slick copycat skill. Sure, it's a watered-down version of the original power, but it seriously comes in clutch during a fight. He drops some deep lore explaining that spirit companions rock two distinct states, weapon mode and human mode. For Yue, weapon mode means shifting into that lethal instrument, while her human mode is just her regular, everyday self. Right now, the veteran wives are roaming around in their human bodies, totally holding down the fort while their guys are off the grid. Han's jaw practically drops. He had zero clue that masters and spirits could tag team a fight, or split up to completely wreck enemies solo. But Yue totally interrupts the moment, teasing him that they've got to do the deed first to unlock that crazy perk. Lin suddenly puts Han on the spot. Is Yue seriously just an E-tier spirit? Han nods, confirming the stats. But then he drops a massive bombshell. Thanks to that spark, she instantly evolved into a completely busted triple S-tier powerhouse. The brothers are utterly shook. Their minds are practically glitching trying to process that massive flex. In all their years in the game, nobody has ever heard of a hack that Han smirks, telling them not to get it twisted. He didn't just blindly pick his partner, he's way too calculated for a rookie mistake like that. With his unique gift, he flat out declares he'd never hesitate to fully sync up with any spirit hiding a divine spark, even if their base stats are absolute trash. Han is playing 4D chess. He knows that beyond the Fuxi Zither, there are exactly 9 other legendary relics out there, just waiting to be claimed. Shutong immediately gets dead serious, warning Han to keep his mouth shut and never leak this overpowered skill to anyone else. He barks an order at Lin to slap a max-level classified lock on Han and Yue's files. Nobody gets to snoop on their data. Business handled. The guys brief Shutong on the chaos in their turf. The boss nods, totally hyping up their hard work. He gives them massive props for holding the line perfectly. Drinks go up. They cheers to the nation's survival, completely wrapping up an insanely heavy night out. Fast forward a bit, Shutong guides the duo back to his personal crib, offering them a safe place to crash. Stepping through the front doors, Han and Yue are instantly floored by the absolute scale of the mansion. Han admits he never pictured a hardcore veteran like Shutong owning a luxury pad all the way out in Deep Blue City. Shutong drops a massive lore piece. This neon city was his wife's original turf. Han, curious as ever, instantly asks about her. The vibe instantly shatters. Shutong's eyes darken as he confesses that she tragically lost her life on the battlefield. He bitterly explains how history only glazes him for clutching the war, while his wife's ultimate sacrifice got completely erased from the spotlight. His voice cracks. He admits he's literally nothing without her. The raw, heavy grief in his tone hits Han and Yue right in the feels. Feeling super guilty, Han quickly apologizes for accidentally ripping open such an agonizing old wound. Shutong looks him dead in the eye. He aggressively warns Han to treat Yue like his actual soulmate, not just some disposable weapon. Han nods, completely soaking in the wisdom. He swears on his life that he's going to fiercely protect and cherish her. Then he respectfully asks for her name. He locks eyes with Shutong, promising that as long as one person keeps her memory alive, she'll never fade from history. A faint smile crosses Shutong's face. He praises the kid, realizing Han is built way different from the rest of his toxic generation. Staring deeply into the distance, he softly drops the name Ling Mei. Here's the real tea. During the massive bloodbath against the Zerg Emperors, he only took down one. Ling Mei was the absolute unit who bled out, butchering the other two. She's the one who truly deserved the insane clout and glory for saving the entire nation. If she had just survived the raid, the crown would be hers, not his. Brushing off the heavy emotions, Shutong tells them to go crash in one of the guest rooms since it is already crazy late. Deep into the quiet night, Shutong steps outside. He just zones out, staring at the moon, tightly gripping a faded photo of his girl. But Han and Yue aren't about to let him suffer alone. They silently slide up beside him, offering to chill and keep him company in the dark. Shutong is seriously touched. He admits that watching the two of them vibe just flashes him right back to his own glory days with Ling Mei. Suddenly, an insane, suffocating pressure explodes from his body. He aggressively warns Han that protecting your girl requires straight-up monstrous power. And because he sees crazy potential, he decides to bless Han by teaching him his ultimate signature fighting style. Shutong inhales sharply. Faster than the eye can track, he launches a devastating shockwave punch that literally snaps a massive tree clean in half. He casually drops a massive bombshell. That insane flex he just pulled off is a legendary martial art known as the 8 Locks Fist. He breaks it down, explaining how the technique targets 8 literal locks tied to 8 secret pressure points hidden deep within the human body. Crack all 8 of those bad boys open and boom, you completely shatter. But out of nowhere, Han perfectly mirrors the exact same technique, leaving the old man's jaw practically glued to the floor. Shutong is utterly speechless. It took him 6 grueling months to master that move, and this kid just copy-pasted it after a single glance. Smirking with absolute main character energy, Han admits he pinpointed the lock positions purely on instinct. Realizing he's dealing with an absolute prodigy, Shutong brutally decks Han right in the jaw, sending him crashing into the dirt, groaning in sheer agony. But this wasn't just a random sneak attack. The master purposefully humbled him, making sure this prodigy's ego doesn't inflate to the size of a blimp. Exhaling a deep breath, Shutong chuckles, admitting that knocking a cocky genius down a peg feels incredibly satisfying. And the beatdown doesn't stop there. He ruthlessly pummels the kid into the ground, completely disguising this one-sided massacre as intense training. In the blink of an eye, Han's face balloons up so badly he looks like he just face-tanked a furious swarm of killer bees. Fast forward to the next day at the academy. Yue cringes at his bruised face, asking if he's still in agony, but Han shrugs it off, claiming the pain is totally gone. Honestly, he's barely sweating the brutal beatdown. He knows his master was just messing around and testing his limits. The duo is just chilling, minding their own business until Lu Mao struts over itching. This clown and his sidekick start aggressively running their mouths. Yue is totally lost, but Han calmly tells her to chill and let him handle it. Why? Because to him, Lu Mao's entire crew are nothing more than a bunch of annoying, buzzing flies. Later, Han and Yue step into the principal's office only to get hit with an absolute bombshell of terrible news. The principal drops the hammer. Orders straight from the higher-ups are shipping them off to the gritty city of Deep Blue to join the Guardian organization. Their mission? Grinding out brutal frontline tasks at the absolute bottom of the food chain. He flashes the official transfer notice, demanding they pack up and report immediately. Han's eyes go wide. Getting dumped right onto the bloody front lines is a massive curveball he definitely didn't see coming. Letting out a heavy, defeated sigh, the principal mutters that tossing a prodigy like him into the meat grinder is a tragic waste of raw talent. But his hands are completely tied. When the unbothered Han tells the old man to stop stressing over it, he's totally locked in and ready to embrace this insane assignment. Deep down, he knows this is the exact solo journey his master secretly prepared him for. Stepping back out into the hallway, they instantly bump into Lu Mao, who's still aggressively yapping and talking trash. Han literally couldn't care less about his weak insults, and his stone-cold deadpan reaction clearly strikes a nerve. Barking empty threats, Lu Mao gloats that after his fun night with Mei, he's leveled up and is way stronger than yesterday. Han instantly blitzes forward and their fists violently collide in midair, blasting a massive shockwave straight through the entire room. As the dust finally clears, the aftermath is brutal. Every single nerve in Lu Mao's arm has been completely pulverized. The dude clutches his mangled wrist, literally squealing for his mommy in pure agony. But Han is nowhere near finished. He viciously hooks him right in the jaw, sending him crashing to the floor and knocking half the teeth out of his ugly mouth. Without missing a beat, Han grabs his companion, declaring that it's time to bounce. He coldly reminds her that the arrogant punk 100% deserved to get clapped like that. Still processing the chaos, Yue asks where they're heading next. He smirks and says it's time to clock in at their brand new station. Cutting to the chase, they pull up to the Guardian base and casually stroll right up to the front desk attendant. Barely glancing up from his screen, the lazy desk jockey assumes they're just random civilians and snaps at them to go wait in line. But Han swiftly shuts that down, sliding his transfer papers over and announcing they're the newest recruits. That instantly snaps the guy out of his game. He squints at them, his eyes widening as he realizes exactly who he's dealing with. Bursting into a wicked, mocking laugh, he sneers that Zhao already pulled the strings to make their lives an absolute living hell. Clacking away at his keyboard, the guy smugly reveals they've been dumped into Squad 0527. And the kicker, Han is officially the captain of this total train wreck of a team. Here's the lore drop inside the Guardian network. Every city relies on an elite first squad to police all the other members. Everyone else is just slapped with a random serial number based on their turf scattered across a bunch of low-tier squads. The smirking desk guy points them toward their new home base. But the second they push open the door to Squad 0527's office, it looks like a literal tornado ripped through the room. Amidst the pure chaos sit a guy and a girl, and the lady immediately glares at Han, snapping, "The hell do you want?" Unfazed by the toxic energy, Han casually dropping the bomb that he is the squad's brand new shot caller. Han just gets a face full of mocking laughter from the guy sprawled across the sofa, who ruthlessly roasts him, calling Han a literal toddler who has absolutely zero business running a team. Smirking, the deadbeat tells our boy to go mess around in a sandbox. Yue instantly claps back at the blatant disrespect, demanding to know what his absolute problem is. Han just stares in utter disbelief, completely disgusted that this walking red flag is actually on the organization's payroll, which is a harsh wake-up call proving exactly how hard Team 0527 has fallen off. Suddenly, the creep peels himself off the cushions and stalks straight toward Yue, spitting some wildly creepy pickup lines, deadass asking if she wants to become his personal contract spirit. That instantly flips Han's switch. He launches a brutal right hook, sending the guy flying across the room as blood sprays from his filthy mouth. But despite eating the floorboards, this trash bag, Yifan doesn't even sweat it. He simply grabs his liquor bottle, ready to chug down another round of pure liquid misery. The squad's only other member, Hong Ying-wei, coldly brushes them off. She tells Yifan to babysit their new boss because she is heading back to her room to sleep. Yifan begs her to spot him some cash for more booze, but she aggressively slams the door right in his face, shrieking that she is dead broke. Pivoting back to Han, Yifan flexes the pathetic truth their squad is so insanely broke they can't even afford cheap liquor, basically telling him that sticking around is pure career suicide. Han doesn't even flinch. He locks eyes with the drunk, dropping hard facts with him in charge. This rock-bottom era is officially on borrowed time. Yifan stumbles over to his glowing monitor, laughing off Han's hype and calling him completely delusional. He points a shaking finger at the leaderboards, exposing the brutal reality they are scraping the absolute bottom of the entire city's Guardian rankings. When it comes to points, Yifan drops the ticking clock. They only have 2 months left before the year wraps up, and when it does, the higher-ups are triggering a massive, merciless purge of the weakest squads. Anyone who gets the axe gets dragged straight down to the nightmare zone known as the lower district. And looking at their current pathetic score, Yifan guarantees they are 100% doomed to be demoted. The deadbeat darkens his tone, painting the lower district as a literal meat grinder for the weak. He gives Han an ultimatum: pack your bags right now, or prepare to catch a body bag down there. To prove he isn't playing around, Yifan violently hurls his glass bottle straight at Han's head. Catching the violent vibe, everything clicks for Han Wu, orchestrated this entire dumpster fire just to trap him in the lower district. But Han is about to completely shatter that mastermind's little dream. Yue whispers that they need to bounce immediately, pointing out that Yifan is a completely unsalvageable mess. But Han shuts that down fast. He tells her that dodging conflict just breeds weaklings, and chewing through these impossible odds is the only true way to level up. Besides jumping ship to another squad, definitely won't stop Wu's relentless hunting. Han's ultimate strategy: stay planted, transform these underdogs into the apex predators of the city, and completely obliterate Wu's trap from the inside. Stepping past the chaos, Han pushes into the inner room where Ying is hiding. She glares absolute daggers at him, spitting out that he needs to leave her space. Unbothered Han hits her with reality. Is she seriously going to rot here and wait for game over? Then he drops an absolute nuke, calling out her hidden true identity, Bai Shuang. Her icy facade shatters instantly. Surging with panic and fury, she demands to know exactly how. The secret Han's overpowered visual skill basically gives him a cheat code for secrets, laying all of Bai's hidden skeletons bare. Smirking with absolute confidence, Han tells her that now that the ice is officially broken, it is time for him to flex a little sample of what he actually brings to the table. He reads her like an open book. Beneath that edgy act, he knows she is secretly desperate for this squad to succeed. Bai clenches her fists, snarling a warning that trying to use her secrets as blackmail is going to spectacularly backfire. Instead of a threat, Han extends a hand. He offers her a grinding partnership to clear out some missions, betting his life that she is utterly terrified of taking a one-way trip to the lower district, even if their resident drunk guy is already busy digging his own grave. He massively sweetens the pot, a clean 50-50 split of the loot, and all she needs to do is tag along and watch him prove he isn't all talk. Realizing he is entirely built different, Bai finally locks hands with him, cementing the alliance. Securing his very first ally, Han drops the ultimate game plan. She hunts down the quests, and he will brutally execute every single one. Bai swipes through her tablet, pulling up 3 beginner-level missions that perfectly match their squad's current stats. She tilts the glowing screen toward Han, giving him a full rundown of their options. But the moment Han scans the bounties, he completely frowns at the pathetic payout. He flat-out tells her they need massive XP drops to blitz past the competition and dominate the leaderboards. Ignoring her safe bets, Han locks eyes on a hardcore extermination bounty deep inside the city's infested sewers. The catch: the system literally demands a massive raid party of 6 to 8 stacked players. Bai's jaw hits the floor, looking at him like he belongs in a psych ward, since this run requires at least 2 full guilds. Smirking, Han brushes off her panic, claiming this absolute meat grinder is exactly what they need to skyrocket their rank. And before she can even snatch the tablet away, he slams the accept button. Bai absolutely loses it, screaming that a wipeout means they swallow a brutal 10% point deduction as a penalty. Completely unfazed, Han just waves off her meltdown and promises he will totally solo carry the run. Trapped by her own promise to back him up, she reluctantly caves in but mentally prepares to drag his lifeless corpse out of the muck. Cut to the rival squad, who originally called dibs on the sewer raid. They absolutely rage upon discovering their juicy 300-point gold mine just got swiped. Out for blood, the crew marches straight to the sewer entrance, ready to jump whatever insane squad dared to hijack their loot. Down in the pitch-black tunnels, Han's trio wades through the filth while Bai frantically whispers for them to stay on high alert. She nervously reminds them that heavily mutated Tier 2 bugs are actively prowling this exact zone. Han does not even say a word, just shooting you a subtle knowing smirk. Catching his drift instantly, the duo rockets forward into the shadows, leaving a bewildered Bai behind on standby. She shrieks into the void, begging those 2 reckless idiots to watch out for the deadly swarm lurking ahead. Mere seconds later, a violent, bone-rattling shockwave echoes through the underground maze. Her stomach plummets, entirely convinced that her teammates just got absolutely obliterated. Heart pounding out of her chest, she sprints blindly into the darkness to rescue whatever is left of them. But the moment she breaches the main chamber, she freezes in pure shock. Han is just standing there chilling, surrounded by a mountain of butchered alien carcasses. Brushing the dirt off his shoulder, he calmly announces that the whole raid is completely cleared. With the slaughter neatly wrapped up, he orders Bai to start harvesting the premium loot drops off the dead bugs. He casually points out that these high-tier materials are going to rake in some serious cash at the market. Then he nudges a mangled body on the floor with his boot, guessing it belongs to the MIA local enforcer. Shrugging at the guy's tragic fate, Han tells her to just bag up the corpse, so Bai is literally speechless, completely mind-blown, trying to comprehend how this absolute madman effortlessly melted a horde of nightmare-level beasts. He basically swatted them like flies. Exactly 1 hour later, the salty rival squad finally breaches the dungeon. Down in the gloom, their jaws hit the concrete as they stare at the completely barren, blood-soaked battlefield. One of their scouts inspects the wreckage, trembling as he realizes the entire swarm was annihilated in a single devastating blow. A chilling silence falls over the crew as they wonder what kind of god-tier beast actually cleared this zone before them. Meanwhile, up on the surface, Hu gets a frantic status update confirming that Han's squad just crushed 2 consecutive bounties. Their score has insanely rocketed up to 350 points in record time. Hu absolutely explodes, screaming at his lackey for failing the one simple job of sabotaging their target. As the subordinate stammers out a pathetic apology, Hu's blood literally boils, vowing to make Han's life a living hell. Seething with rage, he barks a new command at Bei, ordering him to rally every guild and monopolize the entire quest board in Deep Blue City. This petty move is designed to totally starve Han's team by leaving absolutely zero bounties behind. Later that evening, over a quiet dinner, Shutong offers to step in and squash Hu, but Han instantly rejects the backup. Instead, Han shifts the focus, slamming the so-called local protectors for completely ditching their sworn duty to defend the citizens. He makes it clear that the systemic corruption breeding inside the upper management is the real boss fight here. Shutong nods grimly, admitting that while he was out on the front lines slaughtering aliens, the entire guild structure turned into a toxic cesspool. Leaning in close, Shutong declares that the entire administration desperately needs a ruthless, ground-up wipe. That is exactly why Han was his top pick from the very beginning. With Shutong handing him the absolute green light to fix this mess, Han locks in and accepts the mission. Han then admits to his master that he is completely hard stuck at the 8th tier of the 8 quick fists style. He desperately needs some pro tips. Shutong drops some heavy wisdom, revealing that shattering his limits requires remembering 4 crucial words between life and death. Those exact words brand themselves into his mind while his brain goes into overdrive trying to plot an escape route. Fast forward to midnight. Han is literally inches away from passing out when Yue suddenly crashes his room, dropping a massive bombshell she wants to share his space for the night. Completely caught off guard, Han questions why she is invading his territory when the mansion is. Yue spills the tea that Shutong has totally locked down every other door, leaving our guy with zero choice but to let her stay. Being a total gentleman, he volunteers to take the cold floor, but Yue instantly shuts that down, dragging him back to the mattress. Despite the incredibly awkward vibes, the duo winds up awkwardly sharing the exact same bed. Morning hits and Han wakes up radiating absolute pure energy, totally hyped to grind out some fresh quests. Strutting back into the squad headquarters, they are greeted by a shockingly polite Yifan and an overly respectful Bai. Plot twist: these two did their absolute homework and uncovered that Han is the legendary double S rank prodigy straight out of Qingtang Academy. Bai practically folds in half, bowing deeply to beg for forgiveness over her previous toxic attitude, but Han waves it off, telling her to drop the stiff awkward act. After all, they are ride-or-die teammates now. Still, Bai confesses her massive anxiety that a top-tier talent like him is going to completely rot away in their squad. She is absolutely mind-blown that the upper management would dump a star player into this absolute dumpster fire of a branch. Han hits her with the hardest truth. Basic people let the environment mold them, but his ultimate mission is to completely rewrite that exact system. Yifan instantly chimes in, warning him that escaping this hellhole will be brutally tough since Hu is an absolute unhinged nightmare. He heavily stresses that Hu will pull every dirty trick in the book to permanently banish our boy down into the gritty lower city. Adding raw fuel to the fire, Bai points out that the local bounty board has been mysteriously wiped completely clean. Literally 0 missions left in sight. Panic creeping in, she frantically looks to Han for their next major play. At this miserable rate, their progression is completely and utterly flatlined. Since the Shadow Ban is strictly locked to Deep Blue City, Han drops a Galaxy Brain idea pack up and fully relocate their main hub over to Kanghai City. He punches in the new coordinates, hits refresh, and boom, the system lights up with a massive wave of brand new bounties ready for the taking. Bai hesitates, warning him that venturing out of bounds requires a gnarly, dangerous road trip straight through heavily infested Zerg highways. Without missing a single beat, the entire crew piles into their armored rig, aggressively peeling out toward Kanghai City. Cruising down the barren wasteland, Yuebai spots a bizarre creeping shadow on the horizon, instantly questioning what kind of freakish anomaly it is. Han's sharp eyes lock onto the threat, identifying it as a brutal Tier 1 Zerg variant, strictly known as the Dead Ash Fly. These nasty bugs exclusively travel in massive swarms, and the thicker the black cloud, the more insanely lethal their path of destruction becomes. Yifan, who was casually chilling in the truck bed, finally peeks over the edge and absolutely loses his mind the second he registers the apocalyptic bug storm heading their way. The colossal mass of insects is literally spiraling into a dark living tornado, with Han grimly warning that getting caught inside means an absolute game over. Running on pure adrenaline, Yifan recklessly suggests they dive straight into the fight, but Bai locks eyes with Han, nervously waiting for his ultimate call. Squinting through the thick dust, Han pieces the horrifying puzzle together. This monstrous swarm isn't just flying blind. They are actively hunting down a desperate convoy. Bai urgently asks if they should risk it all, and plays savior, to which Han instantly nods, fully greenlighting the deadly rescue op. He fiercely barks the order to gun the engine, and Bai violently yanks the steering wheel, drifting the rig hard to the right. Meanwhile, Yifan is hyping himself up like he just hit the absolute jackpot, completely shrugging off a massive bump on his. Cut to the desperately fleeing vehicles where a serious high-profile VIP is trapped right in the danger zone. It is the legendary Shang sighting, ready to give up literally everything just to buy their precious boss a few extra seconds against the merciless bug horde. Knowing absolute backup is miles away and out of time, the head of security relays a grim final order to his dying men. His tense voice cracks over the comms as he orders the entire squad to brace for a brutal, bloody final stand. But Sighting fiercely snatches the radio right out of his hands, screaming at her troops to keep fighting tooth and nail until the very last second. The fiercely loyal guards just solemnly reply, reminding her that catching a bullet for her is exactly what they signed up for. Unleashing absolute chaos, the bodyguards stick their heavy artillery out the windows, raining pure hellfire onto the relentless mutant freaks trailing them. But the monstrous swarm is too thick, the trailing jeep gets entirely swallowed by the black tornado, violently launching the heavy multi-ton vehicle straight into the Sighting is absolutely crushed watching the scene unfold, but the butler reassures her, telling her to wipe those tears away, since laying down their lives to shield her is their absolute greatest honor. Out of nowhere, a bizarre pulsing rhythm echoes in the distance. They peek out the window and catch Han literally shredding through the insect horde using lethal musical frequencies. Sighting's jaw practically hits the floor witnessing this insane flex. And in the blink of an eye, the entire terrifying swarm is completely wiped off the map. The butler is left completely speechless, absolutely clueless about where a god-tier powerhouse like Han just spawned from. In a desperate final stand, the surviving bugs fiercely blast a massive volley of stingers straight at Han's rig. Out of nowhere, Ifan violently launches himself into the air to totally tank the hit. He gets absolutely peppered with deadly spikes slamming hard into the tailgate. But instead of screaming in agony, the dude starts cackling like an absolute psycho, rambling about how thrilling the whole vibe is. Han rushes over and frantically starts ripping out the venomous barbs, warning that Ifan will straight up flatline in seconds if they stay. Suddenly, Han catches something totally wild. Ifan's body is literally ejecting the needles on its own. Han freezes completely dumbfounded by this crazy glitch, forcing him to immediately trigger his appraisal skill to scan Ifan's hidden stats. Han's mind is absolutely blown when the system reveals that Ifan literally possesses an immortality passive. The catch, though, he has absolutely zero clue what this broken ability actually means or how its mechanics even are. Catching that burning curiosity in Han's eyes, Ifan flashes a cocky smirk. He tells Han to literally beg him, swearing he'll spill the tea if he does. But Han's massive ego immediately rejects that idea. He coldly turns his back, brushing it off and claiming he couldn't care less. After cruising for a bit, the crew pulls up to their very first bounty drop, only to get greeted by a massive swarm of airborne Zergs. Yue instantly shifts into her battle form, while Han drops pure nightmare fuel on the bugs slicing through the massive wave of beasts. With a single devastating slash, Ifan is completely paralyzed with shock. Han just casually one-tapped an entire monster mob. Even Bai is fiercely rubbing her eyes, because Han just keeps casually shattering every single expectation she sets for him. From there, Han's squad goes on an absolute rampage, speed-running countless bounties. When the rival guilds back at base check the leaderboards, their minds are utterly blown. At first, they assume it's some completely different elite squad until the horrifying realization hits them. It is Team 0527, all the way from Deep Blue City. The local Kanghai squads completely lose their minds, furiously claiming Han's crew showed up just to totally clown on them. Boiling with rage, they instantly scramble into action to fiercely snatch up every single scrap of available quests left on the board. Fueled by pure spite, they roll out with one goal to speed clear missions before Han's squad, who they've now officially branded as quest bullies, can brutally hijack every last drop of XP from them. Eventually, they boldly push for the high-tier nightmare quests, but the second they finally roll up to the combat zone, Han has already totally wiped the floor with the monsters. Seething, the squad captain violently barks at his driver to whip the car around and hunt Han down, swearing to serve him a massive reality check. But one of his guys frantically grabs his shoulder, dropping the bomb that the Ghost Squad already cashed in their bounties and totally dipped from the city. Rumor has it, someone spotted their rig burning rubber past the city limits just minutes ago, and it turns out the intel is dead on, because Han's crew has already literally evaporated into thin air. A bit later, the third-ranking powerhouse at the Guardian Association, Su Mingxuan, spots a wild anomaly. The quest clearance rates across the local and neighboring cities have randomly absolutely skyrocketed. His aide drops the tea, explaining that a rogue squad of quest snatchers completely out of nowhere crashed the local zone, and they are basically speed-looting bounties from neighboring cities, setting off a massive chaotic domino effect. Su instantly barks at his assistant to dig up this mystery squad's entire dossier, absolutely itching to uncover the true identities of these infamous quest bullies. Within minutes, the assistant returns, clutching the heavy documents. Su coldly waves him off, gearing up to finally crack the files wide open. The exact second he flips the cover, the very first profiles staring back at him are Ifan and Bai. His eyes widen in pure shock when he sees the massive top-secret stamp branded across both records, which is an insanely rare and sketchy red flag. But the ultimate jaw-dropper. The third document, Han's personal file, is also locked behind maximum Black Ops clearance. But his jaw basically hits the floor when he cracks open Han's file, only to find a total ghost town, just his name and his academy listed. Literally not a single trace of anything else. Shu is totally ready to write it off as a system glitch, right until his phone suddenly buzzes with an incoming call from Lin. The caller ID alone sends a cold shiver down his spine, leaving him sweating over why a massive heavyweight like Lin would personally hit his line. He is barely stuttering out a hello before Lin completely cuts the pleasantries, brutally ordering him to drop the investigation instantly because those files are way above his pay grade. Shu scrambles to agree and backs off, but the second he hangs up, his brain is practically short-circuiting, trying to figure out who this Han kid really is to warrant a personal warning from Lin. Cut back to Han, who is out in the wild, absolutely crushing missions with his squad. Wrapping up their 18th bounty, Han hypes up his crew and tells them to pull up the leaderboard, totally confident that their insane grinding speed should definitely have them sitting comfortably at number 1. Bai refreshes the stats and drops an absolute bombshell. They are sitting on exactly 18 points, meaning they are ranked dead last. The entire squad basically freezes, totally mind-blown because the math just ain't mathing at all. UA questions if some hidden powerhouse is just speedrunning tasks faster than them, but Bai immediately points fingers, convinced that Shu is pulling strings to sabotage them again. Han pulls up the global ladder himself and spots the massive red flag. The teams right above them in second to last place are rocking exactly 2,300 points, keeping the gap surprisingly tight but completely uniform across the board. This instantly proves the game is rigged because there is literally zero chance over a dozen separate teams are all casually packing double S-tier prodigies. Han locks eyes with his crew and drops the harsh truth: they are witnessing blatant leaderboard manipulation. Turns out these massive alliances are literally shaking hands behind the scenes to tie their scores at an exact threshold. Basically, they farm the missions together and then funnel every single drop of experience and points into one designated carry. It is a massive loophole, technically legal since the points are earned in a group effort. Hearing this, Bai absolutely loses his mind in a fit of rage, screaming that they got completely played from the jump. Han just smirks, telling his squad to chill out because the point gap is still fully within striking distance, meaning they still have a solid shot at leapfrogging the fake leaders above them. He makes the call to pull back to Deep Blue City for now, and the squad completely vibes with the plan. Fast forward to them touching down at home base, where Shutong immediately grills Han about the grind, and our boy admits that while they survived, the final payout was massively underwhelming. But Han flexes a little silver lining, hyping up the fact that they at least managed to bail out a wandering merchant crew, mid-mission, making the whole trip slightly less of an L. Shutong does a massive double take, instantly connecting the dots because Sighting had literally just complained about being saved by some painfully clueless edgelord, leaving absolutely zero doubt she was trash-talking Han. Ever since that rescue, she has been relentlessly blowing up Shutong's phone, begging for the secret to Awakening so she can flex as a top-tier contract spirit master. Han is genuinely shook to find out the old man actually has close ties to Sighting. Shutong casually drops the lore, explaining that Sighting's granddad is basically his ride or die from way back. Oh, and casually mentions that the Shang family runs one of the top 5 megacorps globally, trailing right behind Kunshang Tech. Their whole brand is forging insane high-tech weaponry for regular humans and spiritless fighters to level the playing field. Shutong admits he treats Sighting like his own flesh and blood, leaving Han absolutely floored that he casually bumped into elite corporate royalty. But then Shutong drops a massive twist. The Shang family completely orchestrated that ambush to create a hardcore challenge for Kaylin, banking on the sheer danger to scare her into backing out, only for Han to crash the party out of nowhere and totally ruin their master plan. Han instantly gets hit with a wave of guilt, cringing hard as he realizes he might have completely torpedoed a well-meaning family intervention. But Shutong waves it off with a smile, revealing that the hijacked caravan was literally hauling exclusive VIP loot directly to him anyway. And those ultra-rare drops, they were basically meant to be gifted straight to Han. The old master pops the crate open, revealing 2 glowing vials of pure power, one radiating a vibrant purple and the other shining an intense green. Han stares at the stash and asks for the stat sheet, prompting Shutong to confirm they are bottleneck-breaking elixirs meant to force his evolution to the next tier. Han cannot hide his hype, admitting he has heard rumors that these legendary drops massively buff strength, speed, reflexes, and armor, but he has always been dying to test if the hype is actually real. Instead of overthinking, Shutong hypes the duo up, telling them to just send it. Han snatches up the glowing purple pill while Yu Wei claims the neon green one. The second Han swallows it down, a massive surge of raw energy scorches through his veins, making him admit that the elixir packs an absolute punch. Yu Wei gets totally blasted by a flood of glowing runes, permanently buffing her already lethal combat kit. Han straight up unlocks a whole new tier of crazy attack abilities, and once the glowing aura finally fades out, he turns to Shu Tong absolutely blown away, flexing that the potion just pushed him to the next level and blessed Yu Wei with sick new moves. Shu Tong gives them massive props, admitting they totally lived up to the hype. But right on cue, Han's phone starts buzzing. He pulls it out to see Bai's name flashing on the screen. She's frantic, begging him to check the local bounty board right now, because a fresh quest just dropped. It's a full-blown code red since freaking wanderers are lurking right outside the city walls. The payout is a massive 1,000 points, and it's a total free-for-all since these creeps are ranked as Tier 3. Bai is totally stressing over this bounty, warning him that a fully matured wanderer packs the same deadly punch as 3 Tier 3 elites combined. Not sweating it, Han tells her to hold that thought until they can chat face-to-face. Han and Yu Wei bolt out the door, throwing up a peace sign to Shu Tong as they announce their new operation. Shu Tong just stands there watching their dust low-key, realizing that he's officially a boomer now. Right after they bounce, Afu slides into the room with a heavy update. They track down Ling Zhen, but she's stubbornly refusing to return. Shu Tong immediately demands her exact coordinates, and Afu drops the bomb that she's chilling all the way over in Kanghai City. Cut to a bit later, Han finally links back up with the squad, and Bai immediately grills him on whether they're actually taking this crazy job. Han smirks and locks it in, declaring there's absolutely zero chance they're fumbling. A god-tier mission that could easily skyrocket them past all their rivals on the leaderboard. Bai desperately tries to reality check him, stressing that Wanderers are a straight-up nightmare class of Zerg. She points out they'd barely survive against that this bounty is a crimson warning. If they totally ghost this mission and let the beast grow up, that monstrous freak is going to absolutely obliterate the entire city once it hits its prime. He hits her with the harsh truth they're a guardian squad. They bleed to defend humanity, not just to grind for some clout and points. Yifan overhears the speech and totally trolls his captain, clapping sarcastically at his main character energy. Seeing the squad so fired up, Bai finally caves in and agrees to lead them straight into the danger zone. Meanwhile, over at the drop zone, a rival squad is perched high up on a rooftop, scoping out the chaotic scene. The entire infected block is swallowed by a creeping shadow, and the captain breaks down that this creepy black fog literally blocks out all senses, cutting the space off from reality to spawn its very own nightmare dimension. Anything caught inside that cursed fog gets hit with insane rapid aging and rot, literally turning to dust in record time. One of the snipers questions their boss, wondering why the top brass is still baiting other hunters to the zone when they're already locked and loaded. He gets super salty, asking if the higher-ups seriously think they're going to fumble the bag. The captain gives a cold smirk, explaining that this wanderer is way too overpowered and desperately needs a massive wave of meat shields to tank its attacks. Hearing that dark strategy, the squad suddenly clicks with the brutally toxic mindset of the elites in charge. The boss commands his crew to just kick back and watch as the first wave of clueless NPCs marches right into the trap. Scanning the horizon through his scope, a wicked villainous grin spreads across his face as he spots Han's crew pulling up to breach the dead zone. Down below, Han warns his squad to stay frosty around that toxic dark mist. Bai gives him one last panicked look, asking if he's seriously down for this, because crossing that line means zero chance of turning back. Yifan fiercely flexes that he's immune to the spooky fog, while Han projects total confidence, promising his crew they'll make it out alive. Han steps through the threshold first, his squad trailing right behind. The split second they enter the abyss, a suffocating aura slams into them, screaming that massive insectoids are lurking in the shadows. Han whispers frantically to keep their guard up, and Yue Wei shivers, warning him that her gut is screaming about some terrifying unseen predator tracking their every move. Out of nowhere, a twisted shriek echoes through the gloom, instantly followed by a sickening. Bai gasps out that this nightmare fog has a passive skill called life deprivation, meaning every single second they spend inside, their HP is going to brutally tick down until it's a complete game over. Yifan drops a massive bombshell. They've got exactly 30 minutes on the clock, and if they fail to shatter the black veil from the inside, they'll end up as a midnight snack for the Wanderer. Pointing at an ominous dark orb looming in the distance, Bai questions if that's their target. Yifan gives a grim nod. Han locks his gaze onto the terrifying object, realizing that obliterating that shadowy core is their absolute only ticket out of this nightmare. Suddenly, the ground shifts violently beneath their feet. A massive fleshy barricade surges upward, swallowing Bai whole. Panic spikes as Han reveals the horrifying truth: the Wanderer doesn't just drain existence. It wields a sick ability known as Life Bestowal. This insane power breathes monstrous life into literally anything from deadly weapons to the very earth they are standing on. Hearing this, Uwai instantly morphs into his battle form, hyping Han up to absolutely smash through this bizarre prison. Han goes full beast mode, blasting the pulsating barrier with raw, explosive firepower. But no matter how hard he strikes, the meaty fortress absorbs the impact, completely unfazed. In a heartbeat, the grotesque walls violently shift, boxing them inside a claustrophobic cube. Han's blood runs cold. They are totally trapped. The Wanderer is deliberately trying to cage them like rats. Out of nowhere, a freaky parasite lunges at Han's spine. He practically breaks his own neck, dodging the... Han freaks out entirely upon recognizing the creepy crawler. Uwai is totally baffled, wondering why a tiny bug has his companion losing his mind. Meanwhile, outside the barrier, the Vanguard squad is dripping with confidence, heavily convinced they can ace the mission flawlessly. They're even bragging that they could easily fall back if the situation gets too spicy. But reality hits them like a truck when a suffocating, eerie fog suddenly swallows them whole. Complete chaos erupts. The squad entirely loses their cool, totally clueless about this blinding, bizarre mist. As the thick haze finally thins out, a nervous recruit taps his commander on the shoulder for reassurance, only for the captain to savagely chokehold him with pure murderous intent. The horrifying truth drops that exact same parasitic bug from earlier has successfully hijacked the captain's brain. Before anyone can even react, another vile insect leaps onto the terrified recruit, instantly turning him into a mind-controlled zombie as well. Cutting back to the inside of the fleshy cage, Ifan somehow managed to pull off a clutch rescue, ripping Bai out of the suffocating walls. Panting heavily, Bai questions how he stays so chillingly calm in this lethal trap. Ifan just shrugs it off like it's absolutely nothing. Bai admits she is low-key jealous of his overpowered immortality, allowing him to pull off reckless stunts without fail. But Ifan shuts that down instantly. He bitterly reveals that his endless life isn't a flex but a brutal, unending torture session. Completely deadpan, Ifan suggests they should just throw in the towel, claiming there is zero chance of breaking out. Bai is totally stunned by his loser mindset. She shoots him a fierce glare and fires back. Ifan raises an eyebrow in sheer confusion, desperately pressing her to reveal this hidden escape trick. With a confident smirk, Bai simply taps the squishy flesh. Her unique ability surges out instantly, melting the grotesque barrier into a puddle of goo. Ifan is absolutely hyped. This game-changing move officially proves they are still in the fight. Peering through the freshly melted opening, they spot Han fighting for his life nearby. Bai desperately screams his name. Hearing her call, Han wildly tears through the remaining flesh maze, finally regrouping with his squad in an epic reunion. Bai excitedly brags to Han about her massive victory, detailing how she just completely deleted the living walls with her power. But her victory lap is cut brutally short. A colossal, rocky golem hand materializes from the shadows, lunging directly at her and Ifan. Han shrieks out a frantic warning, but time slows down. They are completely... Milliseconds before they get flattened into pancakes, Han unleashes an insane clutch ability that spectacularly slices the monstrous arm clean off. Acting as the ultimate human shield, Han dives right in front of them, barking orders for the duo to stay glued to his back. Pure terror washes over the trio as the titanic stone behemoth fully reveals itself, revving up for a devastating counterattack. Bracing for the massive impact, Han channels everything. He tanks the catastrophic blow like an absolute unit. However, the sheer kinetic shockwave instantly blasts Bai and Ifan off their feet. Han yells out, a crucial piece of intel: these juggernaut monsters are endless, rapidly spawned by the Wanderer itself, which means they must assassinate the main boss. And fast Han suddenly pieces the puzzle together: the Wanderer physically fused with the Dark World, the exact second it unleashed the Black Veil. That is why its physical body vanished, leaving behind only that sinister dark orb. The strategy is finally crystal clear. Shatter the shadowy, fired up and ready to ride at dawn. Bai and Ifan urge Han to unleash hell, promising they will guard his back until the bitter end. The massive golem charges them like a freight train. Without missing a beat, Ifan triggers his immortality skill, tanking the monster's devastating right hook head-on. But there is a huge catch. He screams at Han that his invincible shield will completely shatter after just 6 strikes. The clock is ticking. Han desperately needs to cook up a miracle before... Locking his eyes on the mysterious sphere, Han starts weaving an insanely overpowered melody, charging up an attack to obliterate that glowing orb. The sheer chaotic energy radiating from his music creates a massive vortex. The raw pressure in the air is so intense it literally threatens to rip Ifan to shreds. Boom! Han unleashes his ultimate blast. The shockwave slams right into the sphere, completely pulverizing it into nothing but dust. Ifan stands there hyped, totally ready to celebrate the epic win. But out of nowhere, Han screams at him to run for his... Whipping his head around, Ifan freezes. Han is coughing up blood, and right in front of them, a fully grown, terrifying wanderer has suddenly crashed the party. With a chilling grin, the beast makes one thing crystal clear. Absolutely nobody is making it out of here alive. Ifan is completely terrified, practically wetting himself in fear. Suddenly, Bai steps out from behind the monster, but her vibe is totally off as she starts spewing straight-up nonsense. Rocking a sinister smirk, she drops a huge bombshell. This monstrous adult wanderer is her own twisted little gift for them, completely hidden behind a massive web of lies. She actually kept this absolute nightmare leashed right by her side, just patiently waiting for the perfect split second to unleash it and secure the final kill. Han's mind is completely blown. Struggling to process the betrayal, he demands to know why on earth she is pulling a stunt like this. Bai just throws her head back and bursts into a super creepy villain laugh bluntly, confessing that she just really wants to end both of their lives. But here is the freaky part. Thick tears are literally streaming down her cheek. Ifan's brain is totally short-circuiting. Panicking, he desperately asks Han what kind of twisted sorcery they are even looking at right now. A dark realization hits Han like a truck. He knows exactly what this is. When a terrified Ifan begs for answers, Han drops the gut-wrenching truth Bai is long gone, completely hijacked by a horrific parasite. While Ifan struggles to wrap his head around it, Han breaks down the brutal reality. That bizarre marking in her eyes, it belongs to the infamous nightmare fuel eroding worm. Get this, the eroding worm is a lethal Tier 4 bug packing a seriously messed up skill called brain erosion. Once this nasty critter burrows into a host, it is game over. It hijacks their entire nervous system, turning them into a mindless puppet completely controlled by the parasite. And if that was not terrifying enough, it gets way worse. These freaky worms can actually clone themselves by reproducing and splitting entirely on their own. Back in the day, even a legendary 7th-star powerhouse got his mind completely chewed up by one of these things. The result? Total bloodbath. He went completely rogue and massacred the very city he swore to protect. It literally beast the organization an insane amount of firepower and crazy resources to finally put that beast in the ground, but despite putting up a desperate fight, the squad still took a brutal. Han's mind is racing. Weren't these nightmare creatures supposedly exterminated by the 1st District 32 years ago? It absolutely blows his mind trying to figure out how these lethal parasites are still crawling around. Ifan screams at Han to bolt, swearing to hold the line, but Han drops a harsh reality check. There's zero chance of outrunning this nightmare. Why? Because the adult wanderer's black veil just swallowed up the corpse of the younger beast, blowing up its blast radius tenfold. Han shoots it straight at their current pace. They're basically dead meat. They'd get completely shredded way before even grazing the edge. Instead of retreating, Han flips the script, begging Ifan to stall just long enough to charge up one ultimate bone-crushing strike. Without skipping a single beat, Han kicks his self-healing into over. Spotting this, Bai totally loses her mind, shrieking at the Wanderer to shut Han down immediately. The monster unleashes a blinding beam of energy from its palm, but Ifan's shield tanks the hit like an absolute boss. Right then, Bai sprints up and taps Ifan on the shoulder, trying to infect his mind with her illusionary powers. She whispers toxic lies, claiming his immortality is completely bogus, but instead of getting brainwashed, Ifan just violently headbutts her. He spits back that she doesn't get to judge his power, and as she crumbles to the dirt, a grotesque bug bursts out of her skull, lunging straight for his face. The creepy crawler sinks its fangs into him, instantly nerfing his shield down to just 2 more charges. Furious Ifan snatches the squirming parasite and brutally crushes it into paste. Catching on to the fact that Ifan's invincibility comes with a strict countdown, the adult wanderer launches into the sky, charging up another devastating beam. It openly mocks him from above, practically drooling to see just how long this fragile human can actually hold out. The massive shockwave crashes down, but Ifan barely manages to deflect it once again. Sweating bullets, Ifan frantically screams at Han, begging to know how much time is left on the clock. But Han is already fully charged and locked in. He orders Yue and Ifan to wipe out that eroding worm while he handles the big boss himself. With a surge of insane aura, Han triggers the 8 quick fists technique. Giving the beast props for pushing him to his absolute limits, Han violently rockets toward the monster. He throws a punch meant to erase it from existence, but the Wanderer impossibly slips past the lethal haymaker. Han's momentum sends him violently smashing through a solid wall, while the twisted beast literally yanks a cursed sword straight out of its own mouth. Grudgingly admitting that the human hits way harder than expected, the Wanderer slashes its blade right at Han's neck. The swing unleashes a terrifying energy wave, brutally slicing through every single thing caught in its crosshairs. The monster eagerly waits to see how many hits this guy can tank, but Han casually parries the fatal slash using his armored gauntlet. Seeing that specific piece of armor, the Wanderer completely freezes in pure shock. It instantly recognizes the gear. It's the exact same legendary weapon that slaughtered one of their Zerg kings 10 years back. Snapping out of it, the beast mocks Han, spitting that such elite gear belongs to true predators, a tier he definitely doesn't make. Han explodes forward, fully owning up to the fact that he might not be the strongest guy in the room. But he fires right back with a savage reality check. This ugly freak is definitely... Han unleashes a bone-shattering right hook, sending a massive shockwave ripping through the battlefield before showering the monster in an endless barrage of fists. A few strikes brutally connect, but the slippery beast manages to weave through the rest. The Wanderer starts playing sick mind games, pointing out that whoever gifted Han that iconic gauntlet must care about him a lot, which means tearing him to shreds right here would absolutely shatter that person's world. Hyped up by that twisted fantasy, the monster flips a switch, going completely aggro, and under the crushing pressure, Han finally leaves an opening. The beast savagely drives its blade deep into his shoulder, forcefully launching him backward across the rubble. Spitting up blood, Han is hit with a terrifying realization he needs to execute this monster right now. He has to end this before it finishes digesting the young Wanderer's raw power, because if that evolution completes, he's totally outmatched. In the middle of the chaos, Han forces his heart rate down, syncing up with every single one of his raw senses. He's finally standing on that razor's edge between life and death, the exact do-or-die moment his master always preached about. With no other options and his life on the line, Han shatters his limits, officially unlocking the second stage of the 8 quick fists. Blurring out of existence, Han closes the gap at god-tier speed, planting a cataclysmic reality-bending punch directly into the beast before it can even blink. The impact absolutely obliterates the Wanderer's physical form. Its body explodes into a million jagged pieces, prompting Han to confidently smirk and declare game over. But hold up, the monster's severed head cracks a sinister grin. It mocks Han, chillingly whispering that he is completely dead wrong and the real loser here is him. Pure terror washes over Han's face as the grotesque chunks of the Wanderer rapidly stitch themselves back together. To make matters infinitely worse, Ifan frantically yells out that Bai has completely vanished. Before Han can even process this mind-blowing bombshell, the mutated freak violently launches a massive boulder straight at their heads, roaring that not a single soul will make it out alive. Ifan desperately tanks the crushing impact, but his immortality gauge instantly plummets to absolute zero. Coughing up blood, he desperately screams at Han to get the hell out of Dodge. Staring at his battered comrade, it hits Han like a freight train. Ifan is totally out of gas and on the brink of death. Just when all hope seems lost, the sky literally... The squad stares up in absolute shock, their jaws hitting the floor as they try to process the insane flex. Boom, it turns out their ultimate savior is none other than the legendary Shu Tong. Flashing a cool, collected smirk, Shu Tong is just glad he crashed the party right on cue. Seeing his overpowered master step onto the battlefield, Han finally exhales a massive breath of relief, but the adrenaline crash hits him instantly. Utterly drained of every last drop of stamina, Han's eyes roll back and he immediately blacks out. Stepping over the rubble, Shu Tong orders Ifan and Yu Wei to instantly evacuate the unconscious Han back to the safe zone. The master cracks his knuckles. He still has some messy extermination work to wrap up. Ifan squints his eyes in pure confusion, totally clueless about what kind of brutal cleanup their teacher is actually plotting. Meanwhile, lurking just out of sight, the monstrous queen bug is desperately slithering. Fast forward and Han violently snaps awake in a sterile hospital bed. He instinctively screams at the top of his lungs, desperately warning his master to watch his back. His heart is pounding out of his chest, completely unaware that he is miles away from that hellish... Sitting right by his bedside, Yu Wei lights up with immense joy, seeing his eyes finally open. Still, Han looks around the pristine room like a totally lost puppy. Rubbing his pounding head, he begs to know their location. Yu Wei quickly fills him in. He has been resting in a medical ward, and right after he face-planted, Shu Tong unleashed absolute hell on the remaining swarm. Sadly, that slippery queen managed to vanish without a single trace. Left with 0 leads, the squad had no choice but to drag Han back to base for some major healing. Panic flares up again as Han demands to know Ifan's status. Letting out a heavy, heartbreaking sigh, Yu Wei drops the bomb that their tough friend is currently fighting for his life in the ICU. She brutally details the aftermath. Every single bone and meridian in his body got violently pulverized from tanking that colossal meteor strike. Honestly, if it was not for his wildly overpowered immortality cheat code, he would be 6 feet under right now, no cap. He barely dodged the Grim Reaper, but his physical damage is still terrifyingly critical. However, there is a silver lining. Yu Wei reassures him that his passive immortality... Out of nowhere, a frantic nurse kicks the door wide open, screaming that Ifan has mysteriously vanished from his sickbed. Han's jaw practically hits the floor, totally blindsided by this insane twist. Trying to piece the puzzle together, knowing that Bai's sketchy kidnapping is directly tied to this creepy infestation, Yu Wei breaks down her bold theory. She is absolutely convinced that their battered team... Han nods, dead serious. He explains that Bai is the ultimate missing puzzle piece, especially since these freakish bugs can endlessly clone themselves out of thin air. But here is the major cheat code. If they can just lock onto the queen and execute her, the entire Han is 100% certain that Ifan sniffed out a massive clue, pushing him to go fully rogue and crack the case alone. Biting her lip, Yue drops another infuriating bombshell. Those greedy suits at the Guardians organization straight up robbed their squad of 100 hard-earned points. Furious Han demands to know what kind of sick joke this is. Yue bitterly admits that the higher-ups punished them just because their overpowered master stepped in to deal the final blow. Actually, the entire leaderboard got nuked. Every single competing squad got slapped with a massive penalty for choking the mission. Han's blood is absolutely boiling. They are out there constantly putting their lives on the line in brutal death matches. And these shady corporate desk jockeys have the— But wait, it gets even worse. Yue snarls that the association did not just steal their score, they actually hijacked the Wanderer's ultra-rare corpse, stripping the loot completely clean. Yep, every last drop of that premium monster loot was secretly hauled straight into the Guardians' heavily fortified headquarters. Gritting his teeth, Han asks if Shutong is just going to let this slide. Yue smirks, quoting their sensei. This beef is strictly between their crew and the Guardians, meaning absolutely zero outside interference. The second he hears zero interference, a wicked grin spreads across Han's face. He instantly decodes the hidden message their badass master is giving them the ultimate green light to wreak havoc. Without skipping a beat, Han rips off his medical sensors. It is officially payback time. They are storming that arrogant association's HQ to snatch back their stolen loot. Cut to the corrupt Guardians living it up in their lounge, completely oblivious to the storm brewing outside. Suddenly, Bam, Han, and Yue violently kick the heavy double doors right off their hinges. Radiating pure killer intent, Han roars at the top of his lungs, brutally demanding the cowardly Hugh to drag his pathetic self out to the front. One of Hugh's cocky lackeys steps up arrogantly, scoffing at Han. Death-glaring the goon, Han chillingly repeats his order to fetch Hugh. The clueless henchman actually tries to throw a punch, but Han effortlessly swats him into the pavement with a single devastating backhand. He instantly flexes his terrifying aura, letting his raw, killing intent flood the room. The rest of the crew absolutely loses their minds. They cannot comprehend how Han just one-tapped their boy into oblivion with a single backhand. A few cowards scramble to record the beatdown on their phones, screaming that they'll leak the footage straight to the big bosses. Their entire goal is to snitch and prove that Han gives zero flips about their precious guild regulations. Out of nowhere, the dude who got dropped earlier scrambles up, lunging at Han with a blade, but our boy just snatches him out of midair like a literal ragdoll. Han is literally tossing the guy around like a chew toy when Hu finally struts onto the scene, barking at him to drop his guy. Han just smirks, roasting him for finally dragging his trashy face out of hiding. When Hu demands to know what his endgame is, Han doesn't flinch. He straight up orders Hu to grovel and apologize to his entire squad. But Hu just scoffs, mocking Han for being totally delusional. He instantly turns to his lackeys, asking if they have already blasted the clip to headquarters, and they eagerly nod. Turns out they sent it straight to Su Ming Xuan, the ruthless vice chief of the disciplinary board. Rocking a smug grin, Hugh proudly announces that Han's career is officially toast. He gloats that the second upper management sees him wiping the floor with their own guys, he is getting exiled. Hearing this, Yue whispers to Han, totally panicking about the fallout. But Han just gives her a chill smile, assuring her that with Shu Tong pulling the strings in the background, they are completely untouchable. Right on cue, Hu gets an alert that headquarters has replied, and he eagerly begs to hear the verdict. Sweating bullets, his underling stammers out that the higher-ups basically told them to handle their own mess. Since it is just internal beef, the disciplinary team didn't even care. To make it worse, they actually asked if he would be willing to join their ranks. Furious Hugh brutally rips out his earpiece, utterly disgusted that they are being brushed off by useless corporate politics. Leaning in, Han casually asks if he is ready to swallow his pride and apologize, forcing a cornered Hu to growl, asking what he wants. Han bluntly reminds him about the stolen Wanderer, drops the exact elite loot his squad nearly died farming. His demand: Hugh has to crack open the organization's top-secret treasure vault right this second, and let him handpick loot until he is fully satisfied, serving as— Hu instantly snaps, yelling that the vault is strictly off-limits because it is stacked with priceless hand-picked artifacts. Feigning innocence, Han acts shocked by the pushback, joking that he only has 2 hands, how much could he really carry anyway? The gears finally turn in Hu's head, and he realizes Han is physically capped by his own inventory space. Smirking at his own logic, Hu takes the bait. But he lays down one strict rule: Han goes in completely solo. And the second he steps back out, they are patting him down to ensure he hasn't smuggled epic gear anywhere besides his bare hands. Han instantly agrees, hiding a massive grin because he is packing a legendary trump card, a limitless spatial storage ring gifted by Shu Tong. The second Han steps into the glittering vault, he fiercely slams the heavy steel door behind him. Outside, one of Hu's lackeys nudges him, sweating, as he asks if letting the beast inside was really a smart move. Hu brushes him off, bragging that the armory literally holds tens of thousands of random relics, most of which even he can't identify. He is dead certain that once Han steps inside, he is going to want. Even if Han miraculously spots the S-tier loot, Hu knows it is physically impossible for him to haul away anything significant. His minion nods, eagerly blindly glazing Hu and agreeing that his logic is absolutely flawless. Meanwhile, inside the room, Han casually whips out a high-level appraisal book, his eyes widening as he realizes the guild has been hoarding absolute god-tier gear. Scanning the massive stash, he immediately pinpoints every single high-value artifact and doesn't waste a split second firing up his spatial ring. The ring instantly acts like a vacuum, sucking up every single piece of elite loot in the room. A whole hour drops by, and Hu is practically pacing holes in the floor. Suddenly, the door creaks open, and Han strolls out cheekily, thanking them for their patience. Yue immediately sprints over, begging to know how it went, but Han just winks and promises to spill everything once they make it back to base. As the duo casually walks away, Hu and his goons stand there completely dumbfounded, seeing Han literally empty-handed. Paranoid Hu immediately dials up the vault supervisor to get a damage report. The manager sighs and says he took 5, so Hu practically starts throwing a party, celebrating that 5 measly items are basically nothing. But then the supervisor hits him with the ultimate reality check. Han didn't just take 5 items, he took 50% of the entire freaking vault. Hu's brain completely short-circuits. Screaming in pure rage, he vows to make Han pay in blood for finessing his whole stash. Bro really should have just kept his greedy hands to 1 or 2 items. Wu barks at his assistant to hit up headquarters for backup, but the dude nervously stutters that they already got completely obliterated, leaving Wu totally crushed and eating dust. Meanwhile, Han steps into his crib, absolutely hyped that they finally wiped the floor with Wu. He is practically buzzing, waiting to see if that loser ever dares to act cocky again. Out of nowhere, Yue steps out, rocking nothing but a tiny towel, purring at Han to hit the sheets since it is getting crazy late. Han's face instantly goes tomato red. He stammers, asking what she means by that. She hits him with the puppy eyes, admitting that ever since he got wrecked in his last battle, she has been absolutely terrified of losing him. So tonight, sneaking away is straight up off the table. Things are just getting spicy when a random girl in a silky nightgown casually strolls into the living room. Yue panics and instantly dives off of Han, completely spooked since nobody dropped a hint that they had a brand new roommate crashing at their spot. Han demands to know who the heck she is, but she just smirks with pure boss energy, roasting them for squatting in her grandfather's mansion, while being totally clueless about her identity. Han's jaw drops. Wait, is she Shutong's granddaughter? She nods with a smirk, dropping her name, Lingjun. Lingjun shoots him a knowing glare, claiming she has already got the tea on him. The whole time, Han secretly scans her stats, only to realize she is packing a literal divine artifact, the Shenong Cauldron. His mind is blown, knowing she holds one of the top 10 legendary relics. Trying to keep his cool, he nervously points out her skimpy sleepwear, asking if it is really okay to roam around dressed like that. She totally brushes it off, claiming maximum comfort is her ultimate vibe at home. And honestly, chilling with barely any clothes on sparks her creative genius. Yue tilts her head, super confused by that flex, prompting Lingjun to casually reveal she is actually a mega-famous novelist. With a cheeky grin, Lingzhen drops a quick apology for interrupting their steamy session, then practically double dares Yue to keep going. Yue freezes, struggling to find the words. Seeing her choke, Lingjun drops a casual threat that if she bails now, she just might snatch Han for herself. She is literally about to pounce on him when Yue Wei yanks her back, screaming that she literally just met the guy. Like hello, they have zero chemistry and absolutely zero emotional attachment right now. Lingjun rolls her eyes, firing back that bonding is totally useless when forging a contract. Yue is absolutely shook hearing this. Han locks eyes with Lingjun, confirming she is oozing divine energy. He realizes that if they seal the deal, he can trigger her legendary. Hearing this, Lingjun goes absolutely feral with excitement. She violently grabs the collar of her shirt, ready to rip it wide open, so they can speedrun this whole contract ritual right then and there. Han is completely baffled, waving his hands frantically and asking what on earth she thinks she is doing. She shoots back that she is just trying to lock in their contract as fast as possible. Han practically short-circuits, demanding why sealing a magical bond requires stripping down. Lingjun deadpans that in every single spicy novel she writes, forging a contract demands hardcore skin-to-skin intimacy. Han facepalms, letting out a massive sigh. He finally gets how warped her brain is and realizes he has to save her from her own delusions. Without hesitating, Han flexes his divine radiance to spark her second awakening. An intense blast of light vaporizes her sleepwear. flooding her veins with a surreal, scorching wave of pure power. The explosive ritual goes off flawlessly, and boom, Lingjun flawlessly unlocks her ultra-rare triple S tier contract spirit. The reveal is insane. Her Shenlong cauldron can literally purify any trash item right down to its absolute god-tier core. Han is completely paralyzed with shock. This means Lingjun's busted talent can literally suck out raw spiritual energy from anything. With this insane hack, he is guaranteed an endless supply of crystal-clear mana to effortlessly smash through his future level. Since her shiny new power is beyond broken, Han immediately demands they take it for a test drive right away. Yue Wei tells them to knock themselves out while she grabs some drinks. But out in the kitchen, she starts catching super sus noises coming from the living room, sounding exactly like they are aggressively shoving things into each other. Panicking, Yue Wei sprints back at full speed, only to find these two nerds innocently tossing magical loot straight into the glowing cauldron. The cauldron flashes, spitting out a perfectly synthesized high-grade spiritual energy pill. Han geeks out, explaining that gulping down just one of these pills will permanently buff his mana reserves by at least 1%. Yue Wei is absolutely shook by the flex, but before they can celebrate, Lingzhen violently tackles Han to the floor, whispering to him. But that intense fire burning deep inside her, it is nowhere near dying out. Lingzhen suddenly pulls Han close, desperately begging for his help. Han instantly freaks out, frantically signaling Yue Wei to bail him out, but plot twist, Yue Wei actually jumps right into the chaos with Lingzhen. The girls unleash all their pent-up energy right onto Han, and things instantly escalate into a seriously steamy, passionate night together. Fast forward to the next morning, and Han wakes up absolutely drained, completely wiped out by the girls' overwhelming stamina. The duo practically gives him a standing ovation, playfully teasing that he definitely gave it his absolute all. Han awkwardly brushes off the teasing, instantly switching gears and declaring it is officially. When Lingzhen confusedly asks what their next move is, he drops the bomb they are hunting down the terrifying Queen Bug and locating their missing squad mates. Lingzhen questions him about this mysterious missing target, prompting Yue Wei to whip out a photograph of Bai. The second Lingzhen's eyes lock onto the photo, a light bulb goes off. She swears she has spotted Bai tearing up the dance floor at the local nightclubs. Yue Wei suspiciously asks how she could possibly know that, and Lingzhen casually admits she practically lives at that exact same club. And we are not talking about just any spot. This is the Breeze nightclub. Han's face immediately lights up with relief. He honestly never expected them to score such a massive clue this incredibly fast. Without missing a beat, Han yanks out a weird canister and starts spraying everyone down, hyping them up for a wild trip to the club. The girls immediately gag at the absolutely foul stench clinging to their clothes, demanding to know what kind of garbage he just drenched them in. With a smirk, Han reveals it is an intense hawthorn flower extract, a scent that those nasty bugs are violently sensitive to. Actually, the second those creepy crawlers catch a whiff of this stuff, they totally lose their minds and go into a completely. Pulling up to the neon-lit club, Han directly approaches the bartender, grilling the guy about a mysterious woman going by the name Bai. Only he makes sure to drop her secretive underground alias, and the instant that specific name leaves Han's lips, the bartender's chill vibe vanishes, replaced by a dead serious glare. But in a wild plot twist, the guy suddenly hoists a massive liquor bottle in the air, loudly announcing to the entire room that Han is buying drinks for the whole house. The club absolutely erupts into deafening cheers over the free booze, leaving Han standing there looking completely dumbfounded. Frantically demanding an explanation, Han listens as the bartender spills the tea. Just yesterday, a super sketchy guest rolled through. This dude racked up an insanely massive bar tab, then casually dipped out, name-dropping Han as the ultimate wallet who would foot the ridiculous bill. Yue Wei's jaw practically hits the floor, and she immediately interrogates Han about who would pull such a shady stunt. Han casually waves off her panic, telling her not to sweat it because he is absolute. The bartender then hands over a mysterious box that Yifan left specifically for him, sheepishly admitting he totally tried to snoop inside. Since the bartender couldn't crack the lock, Han snatches the package up, effortlessly popping it open to reveal a hidden crumpled letter. Scanning the message, Yifan explains that he and his brother Yiming successfully raided a sketchy nearby ruin, scoring a massive reward from the Guardian organization upon their return. Riding high on their epic victory, the entire squad hit up the Breeze Ballroom to party like absolute rock stars. But things took a dark turn exactly 1 month later, when Yiming got abruptly shipped off to the brutal front lines for highly classified reasons. Since that day, total radio silence. They have not heard a single peep from him. Adding to the madness, that exact same month, Wu, the team's second-in-command, suddenly stepped up to claim the captain's throne. He wraps up the chilling note with a brutal fact: every single one of those vile parasite worms will be totally wiped out. But only if they manage to slaughter the monstrous queen bug first. Lingzhen scratches her head, completely lost in the sauce, and practically begs Han to decode Yifan's cryptic warning. Han drops some heavy lore explaining that the terrifying queen bug actually started multiplying back in February, meaning there are currently a total of 7 lethal parasites roaming out there. The horrific reality finally clicks for Ling Zhen, and Han quickly tells the girls to hold down the fort while he makes a quick pit stop at the restroom. Pushing through the bathroom doors, he brushes past some random dude to quickly take care of his own business. But out of nowhere, the stranger gets violently triggered by the pungent hawthorn flower scent clinging to Han, and savagely lunges at him with pure murderous intent. Han barely even flinches. Without shifting a single inch, he casually swats the attacker away, sending the guy crashing violently into the hard tiles. Suddenly, a disgusting, squirming parasite explodes right out of the dude's body. Han mercilessly snatches the creature and crushes it into absolute oblivion, just as the girls burst through the door, screaming in pure panic and frantically asking Han what the heck just went. Brushing off his hands, Han casually explains that the creepy parasite had fully hijacked the poor guy, who ironically turns out to be the ballroom's owner, but the threat is officially neutralized. Realizing there are exactly 7 of those terrifying bugs in total, Yue starts fiercely stressing over where the heck the rest of them have vanished to. A chilling realization hits Ling Zhen. What if every single member of Yiming's elite squad has already been turned into mindless parasites? Not wanting to stick around to find out, Han urgently suggests they ditch this cursed club immediately to hunt down fresh clues, and suddenly, out of nowhere, another goon lunges at Han, swinging a massive blade. Han casually sidesteps the strike, delivering a brutal kick that slams the guy straight into the dirt. Plot twist, this guy is infected too. A creepy bug tries to scurry away, but Han mercilessly stomps it out before it can escape. Yue takes one look at the unconscious thug and instantly clocks him as one of Hu's loyal lapdogs. Suddenly, all the puzzle pieces snap together in Han's mind. Every single infected person shares one major link, the Breeze Ballroom, tracing it back to Yiming the owner. Literally every victim has stepped foot inside that club, and all roads lead right back to one mastermind, Hu. In a flash, Han realizes exactly where Yifan stormed off to. He is heading straight into the Lion's Den Hu's hideout. Cut to Hu entirely kicked back, and hooking up with a girl right as Yifan forcefully kicks the door off its hinges, absolutely fuming. Yifan erupts. "You killed Yiming and stole his throne," he screams, completely unhinged. "And you're using those disgusting parasite bugs to crush the awakened ones and spirit bond." Yifan is losing his mind over the fact that Hu is still breathing free air. But Hu just smirks, sadistically bringing up Yifan's recently deceased girlfriend to rub salt in the wound. "Shouldn't you be crying in a corner somewhere?" Hu mocks. This pushes Yifan right over the edge. "This is all your fault," Yifan roars, making it crystal clear he is here for blood. Hu keeps running his mouth, telling Yifan to blame his girl's terrible luck instead. Then Hu tilts his head with an evil grin. "Aren't you worried about backup?" he taunts. He was stalling. In a split second, Hu's heavy hitters swarm the room. Hu instantly commands his squad to execute Yifan for daring to assault a top-tier Guardian official. Backed into a corner, Yifan braces for a brutal beatdown. But just in the nick of time, Han kicks through the entrance, and he absolutely wipes the floor with the goons, one-shotting them instantly. Both Hu and Yifan are completely shook. Yifan stares wide-eyed, asking what the hell Han is doing here. Han just deadpans. "Would you even be breathing right now if I hadn't showed up?" Yifan swallows his pride, speechless, knowing Han spit absolute facts. Hu glares, asking Han if he seriously wants to back the losing team. Instead of answering, Han shoots an icy stare at the remaining henchmen. "Don't throw your lives away for this guy," Han warns them. "This is strictly between me and him." But these goons are completely brainwashed. They ignore the warning and rush Han all at once. Well, they chose violence. Han drops the Mercy Act and unleashes a flawless combo, dropping bodies left and right. Within seconds, the room is littered with knocked-out thugs. Yifan's jaw practically hits the floor. It hasn't even been that long, but Han has completely leveled up his combat skills to God tier. "He's making a run for it," Ling Zhen shouts, pointing at Hu sprinting away. Han doesn't hesitate. He dashes after him, his eyes completely locked onto his prey with pure... Catching up, Han drives a devastating punch right into Hu's chest, violently launching him onto the pavement. The second Hu crashes down, a disgusting parasite bursts from his skull. Before the gross thing can even twitch, Han crushes it into paste. But Han's face drops. This wasn't the victory he wanted. It wasn't the queen bug. The surviving henchmen totally freak out, realizing their boss is straight up dead. They start screaming their heads off at Han. "Are you insane?" they shriek. Watching them instantly frame him for murder, Han freezes. The terrifying truth hits him like a truck. They just walked straight into a massive trap. Flashback to exactly 1 hour ago. A young female assistant steps into the city lord's office to get some paperwork signed. But what she finds is nightmare fuel. The massive queen parasites are physically protruding right out of... A blood-curdling scream echoes through the room. but nobody comes to save her. Cutting back to the chaotic present at Hu's hideout, Han urgently commands his squad to bail and hunt down Shu Tong. He's literally the only guy who can fix this disaster. But his crew isn't having it. Ride or die, they refuse to leave his side no matter how bad things get. Meanwhile, the corrupted city lord Kang Chuan formally issues a massive arrest warrant for Han, flashing a terrifyingly evil smirk. He is thrilled his bait worked so flawlessly. Back on the streets, Han tries to forcefully ditch his friends to keep them safe, when suddenly, a mysterious old man descends from the sky on a bizarre hovercraft. The geezer looks down on Han, calmly stating he knows exactly what Han just did to a top-tier organizational VIP. He barks at Han to drop to his knees. Han fights back, but the old man's suffocating aura physically crushes him straight into the dirt. As all this goes down, Shang is locked into a high-stakes virtual meeting with Shu Tong operating completely off the grid. Shang pulls up to the meeting projecting a digital avatar. When Shu Tong presses him to drop the act and spill his real endgame, Shang flat out denies it, dropping a massive bombshell instead. He smirks, revealing that Shu Tong's star pupil has been snatched up and is scheduled for a brutal execution the very next. Shu Tong's blood boils. Dapit Kleese a split second away from obliterating the hologram, but catches himself, realizing that throwing hands with a projection is completely pointless. Forced to swallow his rage, Shu Tong backs down, but not without delivering a chilling warning. He looks Shang dead in the eye, promising that this little game is far from over. The second the avatar flickers out, Lin turns to Shu Tong frantically, asking if he has a master plan to bust Han out of this death trap. Shu Tong admits he might have handed the villains way too much power. He is absolutely fuming that these guys think kidnapping Han gives them the ultimate cheat code to puppet him around. But plot twist. He hints that Han getting caught might actually be a massive trap he planted right under their noses. Treating life like a high-stakes game of chess, Shu Tong gives huge props to Han for playing his role perfectly up to this point. Cut to the dungeon. The creepy old guy from before corners Han demanding a confession, but Han isn't breaking, spitting back that he has absolutely zero crimes to apologize for. Wham! The old man drives a brutal punch straight into Han's chest, barking at him to snap back to reality because nobody is riding to his rescue. And yep, that means his precious mentor Shu Tong is going to go. The old creep lays down the law, giving Han a grim ultimatum with only two ways out. Option 1. Flip sides and join their toxic squad. He claims they could not care less about Han's messy past or identity. They just want him to realize that their crew represents the ultimate future, while Shu Tong is totally washed up and rotting in the past. Option 2. Stay stubborn, keep his morals, and literally lose his head at the guillotine tomorrow morning. A spark of realization hits Han. He looks up, finally connecting the dots, calling out the fact that Yiming was the one who found the stage 4 parasite worm and smuggled it straight into the city limits. The old man smirks, pretty much confirming the theory. He drops a wild take, claiming that the horrific bug is not even a villain as long as it is controlled and weaponized correctly. In his twisted mind, this deadly parasite can actually become a god-tier weapon. Staring death in the face, Han confidently declares that his mind is totally made up. The old man leans in, eager to hear him surrender, but Han completely wrecks his ego, fiercely stating he is taking the secret third option, sending the old dude into an absolute rage. Fast forward to the next morning. Han's execution is being live-streamed to the whole city, punishing him for allegedly assassinating a top-tier VIP in the syndicate. Chuan gets the green light from his goons that the stage is set. Once the clock strikes the hour, the bloodbath is guaranteed to go down without a hitch. Chuan demands to know if Han's squad has been bagged yet. The guard nervously shakes his head, no, admitting that the trio is way too slippery, and they are probably laying low somewhere inside the massive villa. Barking orders, Chuan sends his men to hunt down the runaways. But deep down, paranoia is creeping in. Han is acting way too chill for a guy on death row, which screams that he is definitely hiding a crazy wild card up his... On the flip side, Han is literally unbothered. No sweat, no tears. Why? Because his master specifically ordered him to sit back and let the chaos unfold. He has zero doubts that his teacher has already cooked up a flawless escape plan behind the scenes. The massive crowd showing up to watch the public execution is completely shook. They all know Han is an absolute prodigy with insane stats. Suddenly, Chuan steps into the spotlight to address the mob. The crowd gasps, totally shocked that this big shot actually showed up in the flesh. Grabbing the mic, Chuan starts dragging Han's name through the mud. He accuses him of mass murder and teaming up with traitors to sneak deadly parasite bugs right into their homes. Playing the crowd like a fiddle, his toxic speech instantly brainwashes the masses, and the mob mentality takes over, violently demanding that Han pays the ultimate price for his alleged sins. A wicked smirk creeps across Chuan's face. The vibe is exactly what he wanted. Without missing a beat, he gives the brutal signal to drop the blade. The tension is agonizing. Han can only stare up as the massive razor-sharp guillotine blade hangs by a thread ready to slice him in half at any second. But, plot twist, the machine glitches out and jams completely. The executioner frantically yanks the lever, looking completely dumbfounded. Chuan instantly realizes this is sabotage. He snaps furiously, demanding to know who dared to mess with his lethal hardware. Right on cue, Si Ding pushes through the raging crowd with her elite bodyguards flexing behind her. She publicly calls out Chuan, declaring she absolutely rejects this bogus sentence, because Han is the guy who literally saved her life. Chuan is seething. His blood pressure spikes as he glares at Si Ding, fiercely asking if her powerful family is seriously trying to crash an official execution. Boom. In perfect sync, Han's squad throws off their hoods and steps into the light, boldly telling Chuan that they are vetoing his whole operation. Meanwhile, watching the live stream, Shang taunts Shu Tong. He brags that it is game over, pointing out that Han is already strapped to the chopping block. But Shu Tong stays icy cool. He flashes a knowing smile, firing back that the fat lady hasn't sung yet. He warns Shang that calling checkmate this early is a massive rookie mistake. And feeling the tension spike, Shang bites his tongue and glues his eyes to the screen. Right then, Shu Tong's phone buzzes. It is an intel update delivering the bad news that his trackers totally failed to expose the secret boss pulling the strings. But the plot thickens. He finds out a massive shadow syndicate has been pulling the strings all along. They go by the name Dawnbreak. Cut back to the execution grounds. The crowd goes absolutely feral when a wild card drops out of the sky, crashing the entire execution. Especially since the heavy-hitting Shang family just stepped into the ring. Seeding grabs the spotlight, dropping a massive truth bomb. Chuan has been playing them all for fools. She makes it crystal clear Han isn't some villain. He's the literal hero standing between them and total wipe. Pointing to the giant screens above, she cues up raw combat footage. The clip shows Han going absolutely demon mode on a horde of Zerg monsters, putting his own life on the line to shield innocent. Sighting hypes up his fierce loyalty, screaming that a guy who bleeds for his city doesn't just wake up and decide to turn traitor. Right on cue, that powerhouse old man from earlier crashes the scene. His voice booms like a shockwave, ordering the entire plaza to shut their mouths. He declares that wiping Han off the map is an official Dawnbreak hit, warning everyone to back the heck off. The Elder unleashes a colossal energy palm, launching a lethal strike straight at Han, but wait, his attack slams into an invisible wall. And out of nowhere, an insane counterforce, the sheer impact crushes him to death on the spot, leaving the whole crowd completely paralyzed since nobody even saw who threw the punch. Sighting glances over her shoulder, catching a quick glimpse of Shu Tong casually slipping away into the shadows. But Chuan He is totally raging and refuses to take the L. He lunges at Han for a desperate kill shot, but Han snaps his bindings like paper. His master already paved the way, so now it's his turn to pop off. Han weaves through Chuan's strike like it's slow motion. Chuan's jaw drops, completely mind-blown by Han's glitch-like speed. In a blink, Han teleports right behind him and lands a brutal double tap to the back of his skull, folding him into the dirt. Bingo! The disgusting queen bug bursts out of Chuan's head, but before the freaky parasite can scurry away, Han snatches it and crushes it to literal juice. The crowd is absolutely shell-shocked. They just watched a massive insect rip out of their city lord. Han raises the gooey remains for everyone to see, exposing how these parasites are secretly trying to glitch the human race. He lays it out straight. Every crazy thing he's done was just to keep humanity from going extinct. The puzzle pieces finally click for the mob. The city lord wasn't crazy. His brain was hijacked by alien bugs. Shu Tong casually steps out of the shadows, smirking as he asks Han if he enjoyed flirting with the Grim Reaper today. Han grins, admitting that having his master play cleanup duty is honestly pretty awesome. But he looks the old man in the eye and says it's time he starts clutching these fights solo. Shu Tong gives him his props. Since Han flatlined the queen, the rest of the hive mind instantly bit the dust. But he drops a hard truth. Han went way too aggressive with his scorched earth tactics. And because he completely nuked the scene, they zeroed out any chance of tracking Dawnbreak's. This name drop catches Han off guard. He immediately asks his master what the heck Dawnbreak even is. Shu Tong gets serious, revealing they're a phantom syndicate that's all right, but their actual endgame is still totally off the radar. Han is shook to his core, realizing a massive spy network is breathing right down their necks. The vibe instantly drops when Yifan jogs up looking wrecked. He breaks the gut-wrenching news they recovered Bai's body. The aftermath is brutal. Over 1,000 innocent souls got wiped out during the parasite raid. To honor the fallen, the city sets up a massive, tear-jerking sea burial, and right there in the lineup, Bai is gently pushed out into the ocean waves. Watching her coffin drift into the mist, Han's voice cracks as he whispers a heartbreaking apology for failing to keep her safe. But hold on to your seats. Inside the casket, Bai's skin violently shifts to an icy blue. Her eyes snap open and a grotesque bug slithers straight out of her mouth. Nobody up top has a clue that she just resurrected. Fast forward to October, and Shutong is already checking in on Han, asking if he and his ghost squad finally hit Tier 3. He gives a firm nod. Even Ling Zhen, who practically just joined the crew, has already smashed through to Tier 3. On top of that, Yue just unlocked a whole new arsenal of killer combat melodies, and Han is seriously itching to master every single one of them. Sighting flashes him a hopeful smile, practically begging him to lock in a contract with her once she finally awakens. But Han drops a massive reality check. He flat out tells her that he only binds with spirits rocking divine tier attributes simply because they pack the absolute most firepower. Hearing that cold hard truth, Siding crosses her fingers, praying she hits the jackpot with a god tier awakening. Now that Han is a legit tier 3 powerhouse, Shutong drops the bombshell that the safe zones have absolutely nothing left to teach him. He hits his student with the ultimate question: so what's your next move? Staring his master dead in the eye, Han makes it crystal clear he wants to push his limits and get insanely strong. Loving that sheer ambition, Shutong immediately hits up Wei to call in a flight, shipping Han straight to the brutal front lines to forge him in fire. Turns out the first district is gearing up for the absolute most massive end-of-year bloodbath against the insect horde. Talk about absolute perfect timing to level up. But Shutong drops a heavy warning: this isn't some casual training camp, which means he is flying solo. Lingjun and Yue are staying strictly behind. Shutong promises he's got a top-tier training setup planned specifically for the girls, and Han gives him a confident nod. He trusts his master's game plan 100%. Cut to the absolute chaos of the front lines. A squad led by this gritty dude named Xiaoya is getting absolutely slaughtered. Tensions are sky high, and the squad is literally screaming at each other just as Han's military chopper touches down in a storm of dust. Han steps out of the roaring chopper like a total boss, striding straight up to Xiaoya to break the ice. He casually announces that he is the fresh blood command just dumped into their squad. Xiaoya does a massive double take, completely baffled that Han rolled up solo without a contract spirit in sight. Instantly triggered, Xiaoya completely loses his mind, screaming in Han's face and asking if he literally caught a flight just to become bug food. Stepping into the crossfire, another squad leader named Zhang grabs Xiaoya's shoulder, telling him to seriously take a chill pill. He swears up and down that this kid isn't just some fragile rookie. He points out Han's insanely clean high-end gear, proving he is obviously some rich kid straight out of the inner city. But that just fuels Xiaoya's rage. To him, Command treating his elite squad like a dumping ground for useless city brats is a massive slap in the face. Because in his brutal experience, spoiled nobles do absolutely nothing but drag the after a super tense screaming match over who gets stuck babysitting the new guy. Xiaoya violently groans, finally gesturing for. As they march through the camp, they trade some basic intel, with Xiaoya casually flexing that he is a heavy-hitting Tier 4 awakened. A few minutes later, they hit the squad's ragged base camp, where Xiaoya introduces the rookie to Shifang and Xiao Qian, his brand new battle buddies. Xiao Qian doesn't waste a single second, instantly turning on the charm and playfully ordering Han to help peel off her heavy combat coat. Once she finishes totally teasing the new kid, she glances at Xiaoya, guessing that Han probably just kept his spirit tucked away in a materialized state. Han formally introduces himself to the grizzled crew, and smoothly drops that he actually brought a little welcoming present. With a flick of his wrist, he casually tosses the priceless gear to the squad, leaving their jaws absolutely glued to the floor. Shifang and Xiao Qian literally jump around, screaming like kids on Christmas, but Xiaoya coldly rejects the loot, stating he is a hardcore mech pilot who doesn't need infantry plating. But mentally, Xiaoya is totally sweating, frantically wondering what insanely powerful aristocratic family this kid belongs to. Barking at the squad to gear up immediately, Xiaoya storms off to go snag their lethal mission supplies. The second he is out of earshot, Han asks the duo if their grumpy captain actually pilots giant mechs. Both of them furiously nod. They spill the tea that his contracted spirit is basically wired for mechanized warfare, letting him control massive mechs to rain down long-range destruction. But there is a massive catch. He absolutely despises corrupt high-ranking elites who completely waste their power. The words barely leave their mouths before they freeze violently. Realizing Han is probably one of those exact rich kids, Xiao Qian instantly scrambles to apologize. The awkwardness shatters a second later when Xiaoya kicks the door open, barking that it is officially go time. Speeding toward the drop zone, Han questions the captain about their actual objective. Xiaoya's answer is brutally simple: total, ruthless extermination. He drops the name of their target, the Izanami Serpent Clan, a monstrous faction that breeds at an absolute nightmare pace. Because of that insane reproduction hack, their ability to flood the battlefield with endless reinforcements. That's exactly why the Vanguard was completely gridlocked in a brutal bloody stalemate against the absolute monsters of the Izanami Serpent Clan. But then, Wei dropped into the war zone 30 days ago, and completely flipped the script. Going totally solo, this absolute unit spearheaded the charge, literally obliterating ancient mystical barriers with his bare fists, and slicing right through the Serpent Army's supply routes, single-handedly turning the tides of this insane war. Wei's wild ambush caught the snakes slipping, but their retaliation was swift. Not long after, 4 terrifying Tier 8 Serpent Emperors suddenly crashed the party, gunning straight for his head. Their clash was so destructive they had to drag the chaos to another zone. Meanwhile, District 2 drops a heavy new bounty on our crew. Orders wipe out the local serpent breeding grounds. Approaching the danger zone, Xiaoya locks and loads, booting up his heavy-duty mech suit. But their blood runs completely cold. When they stumble upon a horrifying massive snakeskin left, Xiaoya drops the grim lore. Every single time these Izanami freaks level up, they leave a monstrous husk behind. Hold up! Han's radar pings hard. He barks a frantic warning. The stealthy reptiles actually stash their clutch of eggs deep inside the dead skin. Right on cue, gross pulsating eggs start raining down from the hollow husk. Xiaoya's visor scans the scene and his jaw hits the floor. The shed skin stretches over 6,000 meters, crawling with literally billions of vile eggs. Boom, the shells shatter. A deafening skull-crushing screech erupts, blasting the crew with a devastating shockwave. The violent blast launches Xiaoya right off his feet as the rest of the squad collapse, clutching their bleeding ears in absolute agony. Without hesitating for a second, Han dives off the edge straight into the abyss to catch him. Xiaoya shrieks at the top of his lungs, begging Han to ditch him and focus on the objective. But nah, Han isn't about to let his bro die like that. Snagging the heavy mech suit midair, Han violently hurls Xiaoya straight back up the cliffside, shouting at him to send a lifeline. Crashing hard onto solid ground, Xiaoya is utterly shook. Han's raw, monstrous physical strength just broke every rule of physics. The backup duo gloomily tell their captain that it is game over for Han. Nobody survives a drop from that insane altitude. Xiaoya collapses, drowning in guilt for practically getting Han killed. But wait, a bloodied hand suddenly grips the cliff edge. Han barks furiously for a quick pull, screaming that he is far from dead. The squad frantically hauls him over the ledge, hyped beyond belief that he cheated death. But Xiaoya immediately snaps into captain mode, chewing him out, demanding to know why he would risk throwing the entire mission just to play hero for one guy. Xiaoya drills it into his head the objective always comes first. Han just flashes a cheeky grin and hits him with a crisp salute. But the wholesome moment instantly dies. A horrifying realization sets in. The shells are empty. A literal sea of venomous fangs is swarming them. Xiaoya screams for defensive formations, but Shifang and Xiao Qian are already accepting their doom. The nightmarish horde hisses in unison, sending pure freezing terror straight into their marrow. Xiao Qian stares at the endless ocean of slithering scales, realizing there is a 0% chance they are making it out alive. Until Han slowly raises his hand. A blinding golden artifact materializes from his ring. The overwhelming pressure radiating from the shield hits the swarm like a truck, halting the tidal wave of monsters dead in their tracks. Mind-blowingly, the beasts actually lower their heads, bowing in total submission. Han roars at his captain to roast them alive while they are paralyzed. Xiaoya snaps out of his daze and immediately unleashes hell. His mech absolutely dumps its payload, incinerating the beasts into ash. Once the smoke clears, the baffled crew surrounds Han, desperately demanding answers. Han just shrugs it off, claiming he merely flexed a rare piece of loot to terrify the mob. The squad starts hyping him up like crazy. Even Xiaoya pushes for the truth, knowing damn well Han isn't just some pampered rich kid from the upper districts. Playing the ultimate humble card, Han casually brushes it off. He tells the guy that he is literally just a Tier 3 awakened, nothing special. Suddenly, a frantic red and his face drops. He admits the global op is turning into an absolute bloodbath. The other squads are getting wiped out there, with barely a handful managing to clear their sectors. He looks Han dead in the eye, confessing they would definitely be snake food right now if he hadn't carried them. But here is the game plan. Since Han holds the ultimate cheat code to tame the horde, Xiaoya bets everything that they can flank the serpent roots and wipe the entire species off the map. But suddenly, all the color drains from Han's face. He intensely warns the squad, if they don't bolt right this exact second, they are the ones about to get brutally massacred. The ground violently quakes. A straight-up nightmare has entered the chat, an apocalyptic Tier 5 serpent boss. And this absolute leviathan is fuming with rage, ready to slaughter anyone who touched its sacred nest. While Xiaoya and the others stand completely frozen in awe and pure dread, Han has already dipped, sprinting for his life. Whipping around, he spots the trio frozen in fear. "Move," he roars, his voice tearing through the chaos. Reality hits the squad hard. There is 0 chance they can solo this beast. Dropping all pride, they spin on their heels and sprint for their lives. But Xiaoya, he holds the line. Planting his feet, he unleashes an absolute nuke of a blast straight at the monster to buy them time. Big mistake. The serpent just gets mad, lunging forward to snap Xiaoya up in its massive jaws, crunching through his heavy mech armor like it is literal tinfoil. With a sickening thud, the monster spits his broken body out. The horrifying sight of their captain getting absolutely wrecked stops the other two dead in their tracks. Paralyzed by sheer panic, they are sitting ducks. The viper slithers in fast, unhinging its jaws to swallow them whole. Crash, out of nowhere, a blazing energy barrier erupts around them, tanking the lethal bite. Hearts pounding out of their chests, bracing for the end, reality finally clicks for the duo. They are still decked out in the insanely overpowered protective gear, but their sigh of relief is cut brutally short. The viper hurls a wave of vile face, melting acid right at them. It eats through the magical shield in seconds, vaporizing the two of them into nothing but a cloud of black. Han watches his blood running completely cold as his squad is wiped off the map. Locking its glowing eyes on its final prey, the beast pivots. Han braces himself, ready to dump every ounce of his power into one last desperate stand. The Leviathan strikes like lightning, but Han violently throws himself backward, barely dodging the lethal snap by a hair. Fangs smash into the solid earth, shattering the ground. Pissed off, the monster violently recoils and lunges at Han for round 2. And seconds from becoming snake food, a massive blade rockets down from the heavens, completely obliterating the monster's skull. Jaw on the floor, Han stares at the messy aftermath. Who the heck just tapped a terrifying Tier 5 boss like it was a low-level mob? Drifting down from the sky is an absolutely drop-dead gorgeous woman. Realizing he owes her his life, Han deeply bows in gratitude. Her name is Gongyang Jin. She instantly simps over Han's insane good looks, but quickly drops a bombshell: she does not belong to the Great Xia faction. Smirking, Jin reveals her true roots, the infamous City of Extreme Evil. To elite spirit contract masters, this cursed place goes by an evil. Hearing that cursed title, Han blanks for a second. But as the gears turn in his head, it clicks. She is actually talking about the notorious Lower District. He is totally mind-blown. Jin is rocking an ultra-rare triple S rank talent and flexing as a god-tier level 8 awakened. In a blink, she teleports right behind him. Whispering over his shoulder, she asks what song he just played, because she literally felt it supercharge every single cell in her entire body, giving her the raw juice to delete that giant snake in a single strike. Locking eyes with him, Jin declares that she is kidnapping him back to the Lower District to be her personal exclusive combat buffer. Han instantly backs up, telling her to take a chill pill. But Jin Shi is low-key furious that a weak Tier 3 newbie dares to reject her. Standing his ground, Han insists he is not going anywhere until his current mission is wiped off his to-do list. Jin's eyes narrow. And what if I just drag you out of here by force? Without flinching, Han presses a sharp blade right against his own throat, swearing he will pull the plug on himself. Respecting the crazy flex, Jin backs off and asks if he wants her to just tag along instead. Reading the room, Han knows she is super into him, so he decides to play it smart and totally weaponize her mega crush. Getting an ultra-powerful bodyguard to carry him through the rest of his dangerous quest, he strikes a deal: he will willingly be her prize, but only if she helps him absolutely nuke. The fresh horde of Izanami swarming the warzone, Jin does not even blink before locking in the deal. Honestly, she already knew he was going to demand some crazy, overly dramatic favor anyway. Han pulls up the strike zones on his map. Peeking at the coordinates, Jin brushes it off: easy work for a pro like her. Suddenly, a disgusting pitch-black mass erupts from her spine. Her body twitches violently as Jin screams at Han to run for his life before she totally goes berserk. Feeling the heavy, toxic, demonic vibe, Han refuses to bail. Stepping up, he blasts the parasite with a bright, holy shockwave, completely cleansing the dark corruption. Panting heavily, Jin snaps out of the trance and looks at Han. "Did you just save me?" Brushing off his shoulders, he acts totally. Pointing at the gnarly wound on her back, he demands answers. She caves, admitting she took a massive hit from a terrifying Tier 9 insect emperor. She barely made it out alive, but that giant serpent they just fought had also left her with this hidden damage, a toxic, lingering curse festering inside her body. It literally forces her into a bloodthirsty frenzy. Hearing this, Han finally grasps just how absolutely unhinged a Tier 9 bug truly is. Han asks if he can inspect the damage. She immediately calls him out, thinking he's just being a creep, but eventually gives in. Han leans in close and tells Jin the gash is brutal, but definitely fixable. Then our boy does what he does best, firing up his signature healing skill. An intense rush of relief floods straight through Jin's veins the second the energy hits. He gives her the rundown. The demonic corruption is paused, but completely wiping it out. Not happening yet. Han pivots, suggesting they tap into the cauldron's power next. Jin's jaw practically drops to the floor when she realizes Han is casually flexing 2 spirit contracts. Burning through the cauldron's reserves, Han channels a massive surge of raw energy straight into her infected wounds. Just like last time, the sheer intensity of the healing almost knocks Jin out cold. Once the glow fades, Han drops the news. They are only at the 50% mark. Jin immediately asks if he can hit her with another round, purely because the healing high feels absolutely unreal. Han shakes his head, explaining his tank is completely empty. He's already drained his innate ability, sucking dry the essence of countless bug corpses just to get this far. To pull off another session, he tells her he's going to need a massive mountain of fresh monster flesh to fuel up. Conveniently, Han's next hit list includes wiping out the Izanami Serpent Clan. Hearing this, Jin literally snatches him up and launches them straight toward the drop zone, ready to speedrun this mission. Meanwhile, back at Command Central, Lin and the top brass are glued to the monitors, tracking the ground zero chaos through drone feeds. Panic is setting in. They found the unhatched serpent eggs way too late, and the situation is rapidly spiraling out of control. It's a massive red flag. Lin suddenly connects the dots. The swarm is deliberately baiting them into deploying their heavy hitters. Straight into a trap, he instantly slams the panic button, ordering a total lockdown on sending reinforcements to the front lines. Flashing back to the war zone, our dynamic duo touches down right in the heart of enemy territory. Jin is hyped to absolutely rain hellfire on these overgrown reptiles, but Han stops her. He tells her to chill out, he wants first blood. Jin gives him a crazy look, asking if he's sure. Without hesitating, Han dives straight into the Viper Pit, shouting back that he knows exactly what he's doing. Honestly, Jin is super impressed by his sheer reckless energy. Han crashes down on the serpents like a meteor, slaughtering them with absolute zero hesitation. The command center's drones catch the feed, leaving the base personnel entirely shook. They are watching this absolute madman solo the generals are convinced he is completely cooked, and just as a massive swarm of snakes surrounds him for the kill, Jin swoops in clutch, vaporizing the entire mob with one devastating strike. From there, it's a total massacre. Jin goes on an absolute rampage, wiping out the snake population while Han holds down the backline. With Jin covering his blind spots, Han finally lets loose, pushing his third-level stats to their absolute maximum limit. Mid-fight, Han unlocks a crazy new skill tree. And what better way to test it out than by turning these monsters into his personal crash test dummies? He unleashes a shockwave of power so incredibly broken that even Jin is left totally speechless. Meanwhile, the guys at the station finally spot Jin on the radar and their blood runs cold. They instantly recognize her as the same powerhouse who boxed Wayne and his wife just last month. And honestly, those two barely survived the encounter. The military assumed she had bounced from the sector. Seeing her pop up on the livestream proves they were dead wrong. And the absolute worst part, she has teamed up with Han. Fast forward a bit and the dynamic duo has completely wiped the floor with the Serpent Clan. Han turns to Jin, hyping her up. He can finally trigger his vitality creation skill again by harvesting all the fresh loot scattered across the wasteland. The second everything is prepped, Han boots up the healing process. Instantly, Jin is slammed by a wild mix of agonizing pain and overwhelming relief. Digging deeper into the wound, Han spots a nasty black thorn buried inside. He pauses, asking Jin if he should yank it out or play it safe. Jin doesn't even blink, ordering him to rip it out immediately. Han yanks the spike instantly, triggering a massive shockwave-level burst of pure demonic energy exploding from her core.